An entitled bully on the airplane I'm currently traveling on literally demands that I give up my exit row seat so that he and his wife can sit together in my place. But after he was so belligerently rude and kept interrupting me when I was trying to talk to him, I decided to shut him down and deny his request, making this probably the longest 4-hour flight I've ever experienced in my life. Welcome back to Am I the Jerk, the only show where standing up to a bully is not only incredibly satisfying, but also just a little bit scary. And this first story I've got for you today is definitely that. Subscribe to Am I the Jerk and click the bell to turn on notifications. That way you never miss a video, because trust me, we've got some good ones coming up. Let's get started. Okay, so it's important to start off by saying that I'm an anxious flyer, not due to a fear of flying, but rather a fear of people. So I'm pretty happy with how I'm handling this situation that's happening right now. I'm flying back from a vacation in Costa Rica, and I paid extra for priority and an exit row seat. The flight was supposedly full, but somehow the middle seat next to me is empty. And for reference, I'm in an aisle seat. It's a 4-hour flight, so not having to rub shoulders with a stranger is a welcome surprise. I get settled in, my electronics are charging, I have stuff in the seat back, the Wi-Fi's connected, and then order some food and drinks from the flight attendant. And having an extra tray between me and the window seat passenger is also quite helpful. Now, just as I'm starting my snacks and I just mixed my drink, the guy across the aisle from me, who's probably in his 50s, asked me if the middle seat is empty. Now, I have to take off my headphones, and I just respond, yes, it is, and I put my headphones right back on. A couple of minutes later, he starts talking at me again, so I remove my headphones and he says to me, "Hey, switch seats with me so my wife in the back of the plane can come up and sit next to me in that empty middle seat." I then say to him, "Well, I'm all settled in right now and I don't really want to move while eating, but if you wait just a second," and before I could even continue, he interrupts me to say that it'll be really easy to switch all of our stuff, and I again start up to say that I will switch when I'm done eating, but he literally doesn't even listen to me. He just talks over me, saying things like, "Unbelievable. So I can't sit next to my wife because you won't just do a simple thing like switch one aisle seat with another? So ridiculous. So unbelievably rude." I then just kept trying to tell him to please just wait a few minutes, but now he's pissing me off. He never asked me. He never said please, and immediately just started talking loudly and gesturing around to everyone, telling them how unbelievable I am. So then he finally takes a breath and says, "Well, how about after you finish eating, then you'll switch?" To which I say, "Well, as I was trying to tell you, I would be fine switching after I eat, but not after you've been so rude. Now I'm not going to switch with you at all." And of course, this makes this guy go crazy. He continues to bluster and bloviate about how I'm so unbelievable and keeping him from his poor wife that is sitting with strangers. How dare I? Then he again tries to talk to the man next to him about how evil I am and just starts leaning across the aisle and glaring right at me from 18 inches away from my face, just straight up shaking his head and making disappointment noises. At some point he mumbles under his breath and I think he swears at me, but it was really hard to hear as I put my headphones back on and I honestly just ignored him. For the next hour, he continued to glare and yell back to his wife that I was preventing them from sitting together. So I just completely ignored him and texted my friends laughing and smiling a lot, just pissing him off even more, but not doing anything wrong or engaging him in any way. We're about an hour from landing at this point, and he seems to have given up and is just leaning back and not really staring at me anymore. I have a feeling he's going to say something when we are disembarking, either to me or the people around us, about how unbelievable and ridiculous I am. But my plan is just to let out a half smile and say, okay, like I'm gonna try my best not to take the bait and just get in an argument, because there isn't any point with people like this. But I already know this is gonna be hard for me. Like, if this guy was capable of listening, I would tell him that it's his own fault for not upgrading his wife's seat and getting seats next to each other before the flight. I also want to reiterate that I would have switched, even though I didn't want to, all the way up until he became so rude and entitled. But I really doubt it would make a difference, so I'm just not going to give any reaction instead and see how it lands. Okay, I hate people like this so much because, like, dude, if he had just listened for like 2 seconds, we all could have come to the same conclusion. Because, dude, you're already in exit rows, like, seriously. And switching from one aisle seat to the other is pretty much the same thing no matter what. So for him to get pissed off when it's like, dude, I'm literally trying to agree with you, I'm willing to do this, just wait till I'm done eating, and then jump in there and be like, wow, I can't believe you're so unbelievably rude. You're such a piece of garbage. You're ridiculous. It's like, I don't know what to tell you, man. I literally don't know what to tell you. I was trying trying to give you my seat, but you want to make this as hard as possible. Screw it, I'm not switching. Which, by the way, hey, that's exactly the way you should act when a bully is trying to push you around. You don't give in to their crap, and you definitely don't have to do exactly what they say. So seriously, even though you've got an hour left in this flight at the time of you posting this, I think you did the right thing by standing up for yourself and be like, no, you're being rude and I'm not going to help you anymore. Because people like this deserve to get shut down, and there's absolutely no excuse for their behavior. If you like Am I the Jerk and what we're doing over here, please check out Am I the Genius. It's going to be linked down below in the description. Just click and go ahead and subscribe to them. And also, if you have your own stories you want to submit, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you want to submit your own stories. We're reading them all the time and we're picking out the best ones, so trust me, we would love to hear what you have to say. Am I the jerk for being blunt with my extended family by saying that I will never name our child after my wife's sister simply because this lady is a spoiled brat and I don't want my daughter to turn out to be like her? Because after I said that, literally the entire family lost their minds on me. And at this point, I don't really know if I'm the bad guy or not, and I seriously don't know how to fix this situation. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things off, my wife and I are expecting our daughter in a few months. My wife, I'll call her Nora for the sake of the story, has a younger sister who I will call Rebecca that everyone in the family is overprotective of. Now, me on the other hand, I am not a fan of Rebecca. I find her to be a spoiled brat that will cry to mom every time she doesn't get her own way. I find her overall to be rude and entitled. Nora's family babies her, and to be honest, at 22 years old, she should not be throwing a fit about not getting what she wants. One example of this is that she had a mini meltdown at our wedding because her shoes were the wrong color. Not even by a lot, it was just a different shade of white. You couldn't even see the shoes since the bridesmaid dress was long. So literally, about 30 minutes before we were going to get married, she was crying and everyone had to comfort her. Anyways, we got dinner with my wife's family this weekend, and during dinner, Rebecca said it would be nice to have a niece named after her. Now, I just kind of shrugged it off and the dinner went on like normal. But guess what? When we got home, my wife sat me down and told me she wanted to name our daughter after her sister, saying to me, oh, this would just mean so much to my sister. But guess what? I told her no. And for reference, the both of us have to say yes for us to name a child a certain name. Well, Nora texted her and told her that no, it's not going to happen. And that's right at the moment when everything got bad. It started with my wife getting text messages about changing her mind from her family, and when she stuck to the decision, they got rude about it. I started to receive my own text messages, and it ended with me getting a call from my mother-in-law and Rebecca. I told both of them no multiple times, and they just started asking me why over and over again. Why not? Why aren't you doing this? Tell me, what's going on? Well, at this point, I snapped. I told both of them that I would never name our daughter after her, that Rebecca is a spoiled brat, and I don't want our daughter to be anything like her, and that this is literally an example of that. Well, after that, I hung up the phone, and my wife is now saying that I really should apologize, but she agrees they were being a lot. I've also still been getting text messages about how Rebecca's been crying ever since the conversation, and I guess her family now sees me as a huge jerk and are still on my case about this. And while my wife is on my side, she does want me to smooth things over, but I really don't want to, and I think they need to change their attitude. So seriously, am I the jerk here? Because this is honestly becoming way too much. Oh my god, these people suck so much, dude. Is this really the hill they want to die on? Like, is it worth losing face in the family and pretty much amongst your peers that this is the reason you don't talk to the original poster and their wife? All because they're not naming their daughter after your daughter? Like, you've got to be kidding me. Because just like the original poster said, this is some crazy behavior, and this proves that, yeah, Rebecca's a spoiled brat. And by the way, just because someone expresses a want of some kind where it's like, oh, it would be nice if somebody named their kid after me, that would really mean a lot. Like, that's just wishful thinking. That doesn't mean, okay, we have to make that happen. Rebecca wants it, so that means we have to do it. Please do it. Like, bro, what's going on? Rebecca's 22 years old. Why would anybody name their kid after her willingly? Especially if this is how she acts whenever she doesn't get her way. And here's the thing, to the original poster, I love the fact that you're not willing to apologize for this, because guess what? You've not only done nothing wrong, but also think about it. This is probably the first time Rebecca's ever been told no, and somebody didn't just immediately cave all because, oh no, Rebecca's upset. You have to make things right. Like, even your wife in a roundabout way is trying to instigate you to do that because she knows that, oh man, it's better to just give Rebecca whatever she wants instead of making her upset, because we'll never hear the end of it. So in my opinion, don't ever apologize for this. Never back down on this. I would absolutely ride this until the end of time. So no, of course you're not the jerk. Your extended family sucks, and Rebecca is quite literally an idiot. And if it was me, I would personally make it a point of being no, we're never naming our kid Rebecca, by the way. Just want to want to dig that back up and throw it at you, because obviously this is something they're choosing to be mad about because their request even in the first place is simply insane. Am I the jerk for setting up and tricking a guy who kept eating my lunch at work every single day? Because after confronting him twice about doing it, I finally caught him the third time, as he literally was caught red-handed with my container in his hand. Here's what happened. Okay, so I want to start off by saying that someone at my job has been stealing my lunch out of the communal fridge for weeks. But here's the thing, I'm not guessing, like I know exactly who it is. It's this newer guy who started about 2 months ago. For a bit of context, I follow a pretty strict diet for religious reasons. I can't just run out and grab food from wherever, so I bring homemade meals every single day. It's time consuming, but it is necessary because my options are really limited otherwise. So when my food disappears, I'm not eating lunch, period. There's nowhere nearby I can get something that works for me on short notice. And I think this guy figured that out. He follows similar dietary restrictions, and I think he clocked early on that whatever I bring is safe for him to eat. I'm pretty visible about my background, so it wouldn't have been hard to connect the dots. Every single time my lunch vanished, he would be sitting at his desk eating something that looked suspiciously like what I packed that morning. I talked to him about it twice, but both times he just completely denied it. In fact, he acted confused and said he had no idea what I was talking about. So I dropped it and just kept bringing my food. Because seriously, what else was I supposed to do? Just stop eating? Well, last week my partner made dinner and we had leftovers. And the meal itself had an ingredient in it that's totally normal for me, but one that this coworker has a serious restriction against for his own personal reasons. So I packed the leftovers for lunch the next day. I even wrote my name on the container like I always do. I didn't list the ingredients because nobody in our office does that. Plus, it's a communal fridge full of containers with names on it. And that's it. So lunchtime comes along and I open the fridge and guess what? My food's gone, which is really not a shocker at this point. I then walk up to his desk and yeah, as you can probably imagine, he's eating my food. I then told him straight up that the food he stole has a specific ingredient in it that I know he doesn't eat. And when I said that, he stopped chewing. He then started yelling about how, oh, you did this on purpose, that apparently I knew about his restriction and deliberately didn't warn him, that I basically booby-trapped my lunch to try and catch him. He said I could have just confronted him instead of letting him eat something that he can't have. But I told him I did confront him twice, and he denied it both times. Plus, I don't owe a thief a detailed breakdown of what's in my personal food. If he didn't steal it, then he would not have eaten it, which is pretty simple if you ask me. He went to Human Resources and they reviewed everything, and yes, they absolutely ruled completely in my favor. They said stealing food is a policy violation and that I had zero obligation to label ingredients on my own meal. So no, I didn't really set anybody up. I brought my own leftovers from my own dinner. I didn't change what I eat just to trap him. He's the one that made the choice to open a container with someone else's name on it and eat it. So in my opinion, every consequence that followed came from that choice and not mine. But regardless, with everything in mind, am I really the jerk here? Like, did I do anything wrong? Because I'm still pissed off about this and I don't know what to do. Okay, I love this story so much because obviously no, you're not the jerk, but you definitely set him up in such a way where it's like, oh yeah, he's gonna eat your food and then regret it. I hope it wasn't like an actual allergy where it's like, oh, and now my throat's closing up because there's peanut butter in this. Thanks for that. Like, hopefully it's not one of those. It doesn't sound like it was. Maybe it's just like, oh, this doesn't like sit well with my stomach or something like that. And if that's the case, then okay, screw that guy. Like, who cares? But I think if I was in your shoes and someone was actively stealing my lunch every single day, I absolutely would be the coworker who's like, okay, I'm gonna like put the hottest pepper on planet Earth in this sandwich and wait for someone to pick it up and be like, ooh, yummy sandwich, only to then bite into like a ghost pepper or something crazy like that. And then if I really don't know who stole my lunch, then I'll find out really quick when I hear someone coughing up a lung. Like, I don't know, that seems like a really easy way to figure out who's the rat in the office. But no, you're not the jerk. You didn't do anything wrong. Your coworker sucks. And the fact that they tried to spin this against you is hilarious in my opinion and shows how entitled they truly are. Am I the jerk for bringing a supposedly lazy dish to a potluck after one of my friends looked at me and said they expected more, all because I'm a professional chef? Because now I'm kind of offended and a little frustrated because I don't think I did anything wrong, but right now I'm kind of second guessing myself. Here's how it all happened. Okay, so I've been a line cook and then a chef for about 9 years now. My friends know what I do and they've eaten my food before, and some of them have even come to the restaurant that I've worked at. It's a real part of my identity in our friend group. Well, every few months we do a a potluck at somebody's place, and I genuinely love these. It's casual, everyone brings something, and we eat and just hang out. But here's the thing that really just bothers me. The moment people found out what I do for a living, every potluck became this unspoken performance review. People would watch me eat their dish and wait for my reaction. Someone once literally asked me to score their lasagna, and honestly, I started to dread it just a little bit. So this time I made a deliberate choice. I brought a really good store-bought hummus, transferred it into a nice bowl, sliced some vegetables, arranged everything nicely, and I called it a day. Nothing homemade, nothing elaborate. I just wanted to show up as a friend and not as the entertainment. Now, 2 people said nothing, 3 people laughed and assumed I was joking, and kept asking what the real dish was. And my friend, who I will call Kate, even pulled me aside and said she was kind of disappointed because she had been looking forward to trying something I made, and that it felt like I just didn't really care about the evening. But I tried to explain that I cook professionally up to 60 hours a week, and that sometimes I just want to exist at a social event without my job being the main event too. Kate said she understood, but still seemed a bit cold for the rest of the night. Now, I really don't think I did anything wrong, but the reactions have me second-guessing myself just a little bit. So seriously, am I the jerk here? Because I don't know what else to do here. Okay, bro, this is so annoying, it's not even funny. If someone shows up and they're like, oh yeah, I do surgery for a living, you wouldn't throw your arm on the table and be like, fix my arm. Or like if someone's like, yeah, I'm a mechanic, they wouldn't be like, you know, I'm really sad that you didn't come in here and fix my brakes for me. That's really rude. I'm sorry, but I was really expecting some expert service here. And it's like, dude, I do that for a living. I just wanted to show up and like have fun with some friends. I didn't know it was going to be graded on like how I present myself. Like, what are we talking about? So honestly, no, you definitely did not do anything wrong. You're not the jerk here. If they really expected some kind of like catering service out of you just because you're coming to like have fun and go to a potluck, then these are probably not very good friends to begin with, and you can probably find some much better ones literally anywhere else. Am I the jerk for not relinquishing my apartment to my father after he asked me to let a family member live with me so that they could visit someone else in the hospital close by? But after literally being left on my own pretty much for the entirety of my life, as well as him knowing that I was homeless and not doing anything to help me out, I decided to turn him down and finally set some boundaries, putting me in a scenario where I truly just don't know what to do anymore. Here's what happened. Okay, so my parents divorced when I was young, and my dad got remarried, and circumstances led to us being estranged for some time due to their actions. Now, my dad makes a lot of money, but he didn't want to contribute to child support or me and my brother's education, so mostly my mom just paid for it. Eventually, I moved away to complete an arts degree. There was an emergency in my student housing, and I was spending my money from part-time jobs on living expenses. Long story short, I became temporarily homeless during the last year of my bachelor's degree, and my options were to either stay in the city homeless or forfeit my degree and move home, even though I was 6 months to being done. So I literally became homeless, and eventually my place became livable again and I completed my degree. And holy crap, I just want to jump in as the narrator. That is some grit and determination I've never seen before in my life. This person went homeless just to finish up college. Like, bro, that is some determination. Okay, back to the story. Now, my dad, who makes a considerable amount of money, knew to some degree I was homeless and didn't even offer any support. Fast forward 2 years and I moved home and worked 2 full-time jobs just so I would be able to go for a clinical graduate program that is incredibly competitive. And with that, I got an apartment of my own. Now, you might be wondering, okay, how does this become relevant to like the current circumstance? Well, my dad is now asking if his partner can stay in my apartment because she has a family member in the hospital nearby, even though I'm living there and completing my master's. Now, I have tried to set boundaries, but they continue to ask and degrade my financial decisions of continuing to pay for my apartment when I'm going home to work for the summer. They have more than enough money for a hotel and have went on like 2 different overseas vacations in the past 2 months. And yet, in the 7 years of doing my education, they never came to visit me, although I have been less than 4 hours away the entire time. And seriously, this is all bringing up a lot of feelings for me, alongside a lot of favoritism and like preferential treatment growing up that resulted in undue blame and poor treatment towards me. So with all that said, am I the jerk for not letting them or even wanting them to stay at my apartment? Because right now I still feel a certain kind of way about this and I'm a little bit pissed off. Okay, honestly, with all things considered, I don't think you're the jerk at all. It sounds like your dad sucks, like this guy's loaded, and he seriously sat by not only knowing that you're homeless, but also doing nothing to help out. And now out of nowhere, he's like, well, you have an apartment close by. You should let my family members stay there so they can visit people in the hospital. And it's like, bro, I went homeless just to complete my arts degree, which by the way, doesn't even guarantee a solid career. You think I'm gonna give up my apartment to you of all people? The person who could have helped me out of my homelessness but did nothing instead? Like, no, you're not the jerk for turning him down. If anything, this is a small taste of his own medicine. This is the karma he deserves. Like, then he can know what it feels like to be put out. So no, you're not the jerk. I think you made the right choice, and in my opinion, I would do the exact same thing. Am I the jerk for not waking up my roommate for her job interview after she told me to do so? Because after I did wake her up, she literally went right back to sleep, even going as far as ignoring her other alarms that she set. And despite the fact that she missed her interview, she's trying to blame me and say that I sabotaged her. And at this point, I'm so annoyed that I just don't know what to do. Here's basically what happened. Okay, so I live with my roommate, and she had a super important job interview this morning at 9 o'clock, and yesterday she asked me if I could make sure that she wakes up on time because she says she's really bad with her alarms. Now, I said sure, but I also told her that she should set multiple alarms just in case. And when I said that, she laughed at me and said, "Oh, of course I would." Well, this morning, I went to her room at around 7:30 in the morning. I woke her up, her eyes barely opened up, and then she told me she's fine and she had more than enough time. Then later on, I hear an alarm go off like 3 more times. She then turned them off every time and went right back to sleep. Now, I was already up getting ready for work, and I thought about waking her up another time, but honestly, I felt like it wasn't really my responsibility to babysit her, especially since she's an adult and this was important to her. So you know what? I just left. Well, fast forward to around 10:30 and she started blowing up my phone, asking, "Why didn't you wake me up?" Saying that she missed the interview completely. Now she's saying to me, "Oh, you sabotaged me. You agreed to help me out." Now I get it. I said I would help her out. But at the same time, she literally woke up many times and chose to go right back to sleep. I didn't think that she needed me to step in like her parent or something. And now as a result, she's barely talking to me. And she's running around telling our mutual friends that I screwed her over. So please tell me I'm not the jerk, right? Like, I didn't do anything wrong, because this is seriously so weird. Yeah, your roommate's an idiot, bro. They literally are sitting there trying to be like, "Oh wow, you sabotaged my opportunities. You're the reason I'm not gonna get this job and I hate you." And it's like, dude, your crappy sleep schedule's your problem, not me at all. Like, I literally woke you up at 7:30 and your alarm went off 3 times. Like, what more do you want? You want me to carry you out of the bed and throw you in the tub and turn on the shower? Like, what's going on right now? So no, you're definitely not the jerk. Your roommate's an idiot, and honestly, if she missed out on this job, then that is her problem and not yours. An entitled Karen demands that I prove my kid is actually mine while we're playing at the playground, as she claims that I secretly took this kid and that he's not actually mine. But after she tried to grab my kid's wrist and keep him away from me, that's when I snapped and told this lady off, because I've never been put in that situation in my entire life. Here's what happened. Okay, so yesterday after work, I took my 5-year-old to our local playground because he's been bouncing off the walls all day. It was pretty busy, with lots of parents sitting on benches and kids running around. My son was on the climbing thing and I was standing nearby because he's still in that phase where he thinks he's invincible. And eventually, a woman I'd never seen before was watching him way too hard, like following him with her eyes. Now, I didn't think much of it until my kid slid down and ran over to me for water, because it was at this moment she marched up to me with her arms crossed and says, "Is this your child?" Now, when I obviously said yes, she immediately hits me with, "Well, he keeps cutting in front of my daughter. You need to control him." So I told her that I would talk to him, and I did, and I said, "Hey buddy, wait your turn," and he nodded back and then ran back to start playing. And honestly, I really thought that was it, but no, I was completely wrong. 10 minutes later, she's back, and this time she is louder. She keeps saying that my son pushed her kid. Now, for the record, my son is tiny and her daughter is older and much bigger, but sure, I'll give her the benefit of the doubt and try to get things figured out in some way. I asked my son what happened, and he said the girl wouldn't let him climb, so he went around her, and maybe he bumped into her by accident. But regardless, I apologize anyways, because whatever, playground stuff happens. And this is the moment where things get really weird, because this entitled mom then says to me, "I don't think he's even yours. I haven't seen him here before." And when she said that, I literally laughed, because what are you talking about? But she was serious. She tells me that I need to show proof that he's my kid, or she's calling someone, because according to her, people kidnap kids at the park all the time. At this point, other parents are looking over, and my son is staring at me like he did something wrong. I then said to her, "Lady, I'm not showing you anything. Back off." She then tries to grab my son's wrist when he walks over, like to keep him there, and I snapped and pulled him back behind me. I then told her that if she touches him again, I'm calling the police, and she instantly flips to the whole victim act, saying that I'm aggressive and suspicious, and that a real parent would understand her concern. One dad nearby finally speaks up and goes, "Oh, he's been here the whole time, calm down." But she just got mad at him too, saying he's enabling. She ended up leaving in a huff with her daughter, yelling that this park was unsafe, and my kid eventually asked me in the car if that lady thought I stole him. And I gotta be honest, I felt gross about the whole thing. Bro, I don't have any kids, but oh my gosh, if someone grabbed my kid and tried to be like, oh, I'm gonna make sure that this is actually yours, I think I would probably be in jail. That's not okay, dude. You can't do that. Like, first off, this lady was completely out of order. You don't go up to someone and be like, oh, you need to prove that that's your kid. Because bro, how am I supposed to do that besides like showing pictures, which by the way, I shouldn't have to do that. Because guess what? You could easily flip this around and be like, okay, prove to me that your daughter is actually yours. And I guarantee you if you did that, she would lose her mind, dude. She would go nuts. Like if we think the whole like, oh, I'm a victim mentality is bad now, like it probably would have been way worse the second you tried that on her. And the fact that she tried to grab this kid's wrist and like hold him back away from you, like dude, that is absolutely not okay. I know you said like, oh, if you do that again, I'll call the cops, but like that would have been the moment after I get my kid back that I'm calling the police. I would have followed that lady out to the parking lot and gotten her license plate number. Like you don't put your hands on my kid like that. Like what are you thinking? So yeah, this entire situation is messed up. I'm so sorry that you had to deal with that. And it sucks that there's people out there that would actually try to throw you under the bus and paint you as some kind of horrible person that's like kidnapping kids. That is really messed up and there's absolutely no excuse for that other than the fact that this lady was incredibly entitled and very much in the wrong. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for ruining a birthday party after another mom tried to hide my autistic son from her daughter? Because despite the fact that they were in a corner just having fun and playing together, this entitled mother ruined that vibe and insulted my son in the process, causing me to say some things that I'm starting to regret. Here's what happened. Okay, so I'm a single mom to an 8-year-old boy who's on the spectrum. He is the sweetest kid, but he is obsessed with space. Like he doesn't really play tag or anything like that. He just wants to talk about Jupiter and stars. Usually kids ignore him, which breaks my heart. But lately, he's made a best friend in his class. Now, the girl in question is like the it girl of their grade. Super popular, everybody loves her, and I was honestly shocked when she started sitting with him at lunch. Like, she actually listens to him talk about space for hours, and I've never seen my son so happy to go to school. Last weekend was the girl's birthday party at a trampoline park. She literally begged my son to come, and while I was nervous because of the noise, he wanted to go for her, so we went ahead and did it. When we got there, she ran straight to him. They were not even jumping. They were just sitting in a corner of the foam pit looking at his space stickers. They were both laughing and having the best time. And it's here that I was standing nearby with the other moms when I heard the girl's mom, let's call her Karen, suddenly start to whisper. She told another mom that it was so annoying that my son was clinging to her daughter. She said it was ruining the aesthetic of the party photos and that she did not want her daughter to become the weird kid just because she's too nice to my son. Then I watched the mom walk over to them, pull her daughter away, and tell her to go play with the normal kids. She then looked at my son and told him that he should probably go find his mom because he was blocking the other kids from playing. And holy crap, the look on my son's face. I mean, you guys, he literally just froze. I felt this heat in my chest that I can't even describe. I walked right up to her in front of everyone, and I told her that her daughter has more empathy and heart in her pinky finger than she ever will have. I said it's pathetic that she's so insecure about status, and that she would ruin a second grader's genuine friendship. I grabbed my son and we left, but now the mom group chat is just blowing up. They're saying I'm the jerk for making a scene at a child's birthday party, and that the mom has a right to want good photos for her kid's special day. Now, I feel like I might have gone too far by calling her out in public, but I could not just stand there and let her treat my son like he was garbage, ruining her view. So do you think I overreacted, or like, am I the jerk here? Because I really don't know what to do. Man, this is so rude. Like, what are we doing? First off, there's absolutely no excuse for that lady to be talking to your kid like that. Like, what are we doing? They were just sitting in the corner having fun together. They were talking about the space stickers that this kid has. They're clearly good friends, so it's like, what are we doing right now? Why would you act like that? Why not just let him sit in the corner and have some fun, dude? Like, don't sit there and be weird about it. And don't insult someone else's kid in front of them and be like, wow, you need to like go do something else. Like, what do you mean? That is so rude. So no, I don't really blame you for saying what you did. I think it was kind of one of those situations where it's like, okay, you absolutely deserve to get shut down because her behavior was super rude, and honestly, it kind of needed to be said. My coworker thinks he has a right to take over anyone who literally calls out of work, as he's constantly trying to find ways to get ahead, even if that means throwing his coworkers under the bus. Here's what's going on. Okay, so I have a coworker who everyone at the office calls the Vulture. And this is not like the Spider-Man villain. It's more like he tries eavesdropping on everything he can, and once he learns that someone's going on vacation or they're gonna be out sick, he will try to swoop in and take claim to that person's routine while they're gone. Now, I work for a gym, so the world of fitness training is pretty competitive. Now, recently, my boss boss's daughter just got married, and another coworker who the daughter, who also works for the gym as a trainer, was put in charge of taking care of her morning cycling class. And let me tell you something, they did such a good job that the boss asked her to fill in till her daughter returns from her honeymoon, as that trainer usually teaches the morning cycling class on weekends, and the coworker accepted. Now, the vulture saw that the coworker took over the other day and got absolutely infuriated that he wasn't picked. Well, when I came into work today, much to my surprise, I found a note on my door from the vulture. The note said, "I know you made sure that the coworker stepped in and took over the boss's daughter's class. You just didn't want me anywhere near your precious routine of morning cycling classes." Now, for a bit of context, me and another coworker who teaches the second morning cycling class, as well as the boss's daughter who teaches the third class, we basically have a system that works that nobody can ever fully replicate, because we not only really trust each other, but we also haven't really taught other people how to do the cycling classes or even like show our techniques. So for the vulture, unfortunately, this is one of those swoop-in situations where it just didn't fly. He didn't fly in fast enough to try and work his charm that he supposedly claims he has, just so he can get what he wants out of the boss. And this guy's even gone as far as going to like specific clients that the boss's daughter trains just to try and like poach them in some kind of way. But thankfully, all of them have told him to back away because they only want to train with this other lady. Well, regardless, I gave my boss the note that I found, and just before I typed this post online, I heard over the PA system the boss call for the vulture. And you know what? I can only imagine the talk he and my boss are about to have during our lunch break, because I can guarantee you this is about to get incredibly spicy. Yeah, I do not like working with people like this, and I'm sure you've run into this as well, where they kind of like have this weird excuse of like, oh yeah, I'm just really determined and I really want to get ahead, but guess what? That means they're going to try and betray you in the process. Because don't get me wrong, I totally appreciate people who are like, yeah man, I'll step up and I'll do it. I completely want to like be involved and I want to excel. Like that's totally fine and that's valuable, but to try and poach other people's classes and be like, oh yeah, now's my chance. Now's my chance to take over and replace you. And it's like, dude, what are we talking about here? The morning cycling class is covered and no, you can't take this person's clients. Like that is incredibly awkward and very rude. And hopefully there's some kind of like repercussions for this, especially for that note, because that was very unprofessional and there's no excuse for that. My boyfriend moved in 2 weeks ago and I'm already noticing red flags. But every time I try to bring up these things, I always get into a giant argument with him. And at this point, I really just don't know what to do. Here's how it all started. Okay, so my boyfriend of a little under 2 years has been very adamant that we move in together. And we've now been living together for about 2 weeks. But honestly, I'm noticing a few things that are bothering me and I'm not sure how to handle them. And here's just a couple of examples. The other day, I noticed that he doesn't wash his hands after the bathroom. I had noticed it a couple of times before, but usually I let it slide to avoid conflict. I was debating whether I should bring it up or not, but since we now share a household, namely my apartment with my things in it, I felt it was important to remind him now that we're living together and sharing a household. He then sighed and washed his hands quickly, and then started an argument, saying that he doesn't wipe, so washing his hands isn't necessary. But I told him that's not very hygienic, and we went back and forth for a while. Later on, he said that he didn't like to be lectured, and that I should have just been nicer about it. But I disagreed, because I felt like I had just asked neutrally, but either way, I let it go just to avoid more arguing. But then yesterday, while cooking, I noticed that he had completely ruined one of my nicer wooden cutting boards. He had used a bread knife to cut vegetables, leaving the surface roughed up. I politely asked him to be a bit more careful with my things when using them, and instead of apologizing, he tried to brush it off as not being important. He said, oh, it's just cardboard, calling me out for overreacting and saying that I should pick my fights more wisely. Now, I stayed calm and I tried to shift focus to avoid a fight, but I still had a feeling of this not being fair because my request was reasonable. It feels like he's very sensitive to anything that comes across as criticism. But for me, it's not about criticizing him. It's about showing respect by listening to what I'm saying. There have been a few other similar incidents, but I'm starting to question this living arrangement. I know the things we are arguing about seems trivial, but I feel like he's lacking respect for my belongings because he doesn't really care. I mean, he's not really careful about his own things either, but regardless, it really is bothering me. He's renting out his apartment for 3 more months, so even if things don't improve, we're kind of stuck together. So seriously, how do I bring this up constructively without it always turning into an argument? Because right now, I really just don't know what to do. Okay, first off, I need to kind of like backtrack on something you said because, dude, you are not stuck with this guy. You do not have to live with him if you don't want to. He still has that apartment for 3 more months and he absolutely can figure out his life if he really wanted to. And if that includes him living somewhere else, then so be it. Because what you're describing, by the way, sounds incredibly annoying. This guy's not washing his hands when he goes to the bathroom. Are you kidding me right now? And he's destroying your property? Like, dude, I don't care. That's not okay. If you're gonna be living in my apartment with me, then you absolutely need to take care of of my stuff. Under no uncertain terms are you going to disrespect my space and be like, oh yeah, I'm just going to like spread my germs everywhere and I'm going to completely destroy your cutting board. Because this is weird, dude, especially the not washing your hands part or him like not wiping his butt. Like, what are we talking about? That is gross and disgusting. Like, I would not want to be around that. So no, you absolutely have every right to voice your concern and be like, dude, this might not be working out. Or say something to the effect, because I would rather know that now than have to figure that out 3 months from now when you really are stuck together. Like, there's absolutely still time to backtrack on this, because what you're describing sounds very annoying and I would absolutely not want to deal with that. My mom decided that my student flat was a free storage unit, but even though I was trying to be gracious by letting her store her stuff at my place just for a little while, she still decided to freak out on me and take advantage of my kindness when I told her she needs to get her stuff, putting me in a situation that was really unfair and honestly incredibly frustrating. Here's what happened. Okay, so I moved into my own place at the start of this academic year, and this would mark being the first time I'm living independently, about 40 minutes from my parents' house by train. It's a small flat, it's just a 1-bedroom, and it's not a lot of storage space. And for the record, my mom knows this because she helped me move in. About 2 months ago, she called and mentioned that she was doing a big clear out at home and had some things that she wanted to temporarily store at my place. Now, I said okay without thinking too much about it, assuming that she meant a box or two, but she arrived with her car fully loaded. We're talking boxes of old kitchenware, a rolled up rug, 3 bin bags of clothing that she wasn't ready to donate, and some lamp that she brought over. And guess what? None of it fit neatly anywhere. I even ended up with boxes stacked in my bedroom and the rug shoved behind my sofa. Last month, I told her I needed the space back and I asked her to please collect her things. She then got quiet in that specific way and said that she didn't understand why I was being so difficult, stating that it was only temporary and she had not found the right time to sort through it yet. But I responded back by saying, look, I've been patient. I genuinely just need my bedroom floor back. Well, she then said that I was being selfish for not helping out my own family when she had done so much for me. She then called my dad to tell him that I was refusing to help her out. My dad, to his credit, said that it was my flat and it is my call of what I want to do, which then fast forward to very recently, because 2 weeks ago, she finally collected her stuff without really saying much of anything. Meanwhile, the rug is still here behind my couch because, and I quote, she forgot about it, which is all the evidence I need that I will probably never trust my mom with my place ever again. Yeah, it's always so convenient when someone doesn't get their way to be like, oh wow, come on. We really need to help each other out because we're a family. Why are you being so difficult when I'm trying to take advantage of you? Like, that's all that's happening right here. So yeah, I would not let this guilt tripping get to me because this is some stupid behavior and honestly, there's no excuse for it. My best friend's parents showed up to my apartment to tell me that I was the reason their son was failing at life, as they literally tried to blame me for their son making a career change. And I'm honestly so baffled by this, and I think about this situation a lot. Here's what happened. Okay, so here's something that nobody really tells you about being close friends with someone whose parents are deeply controlling. Eventually, they start to see you as the problem. Not their parenting, not the 30 years of pressure and conditional love, it's you. Now, for reference, I've been Jake's best friend ever since we were 14 years old. I watched his parents pull him out of an art program at 16 because it wasn't serious. I watched them choose his college, his major, his first job, and Jake just went along with all of it because that was the only version of peace available to him. Well, 2 years ago, Jake quietly started taking evening classes in industrial design. He paid for them himself, told no one except me, and was genuinely the happiest I'd ever seen him in years. Last month, his mom somehow found an enrollment confirmation in his email, and 3 days later, both parents showed up at my door unannounced on a Tuesday morning. I had not even made coffee yet, like these people were already there. His mom did most of the talking. She said that I'd been encouraging Jake to throw his future away, and that I'd been helping him hide things from his family. His dad stood slightly behind her, nodding slowly, like a man who had given up forming his own sentences long ago. She told me that whatever influence I had over her son needed to stop, and that I was not family and had no business being involved in decisions about his life. She used the word involved like I was some kind of parasite. I then asked her how she got my address, but she didn't answer that part. Well, Jake and I haven't talked much since. I think he's humiliated, and I think his parents made sure of that. And right now, I'm not sure how to help my friend or even what to do about this. Okay, first of all, if someone showed up to my house unannounced and tried to blame me for stuff I had nothing to do with, I would probably either start recording them or possibly contact the police. Because you're 100% correct. How did they get your address? Did Jake leak it to them? Did someone else leak it? How on earth did they know where to find you? That would be so frustrating. Not to mention coming early on a Tuesday morning. Dude, what are we doing? Let me wake up first. So honestly, if you don't have a doorbell camera of some kind, I think you probably should get one. But also, maybe reach back out to Jake and be like, hey dude, this is not cool and I don't know why your parents are acting like this. And at least show some kind of like friendly support because his parents are crazy. They clearly have a chokehold on this guy's life and they're like, oh wow, he's throwing his life away and it's your fault. But like honestly, if Jake is a fully formed adult, he can do whatever he wants. If he wants to make a career change, then congratulations, he has every right to do that. He shouldn't be held down by what they think. Like that's just silly in my opinion. So yeah, I think this was incredibly inappropriate and you're right to be kind of like freaked out by this because they not only have no business trying to like blame you for any shortcomings of Jake, but they also have absolutely no reason to show up to your house at all. I got some epic revenge against my high school bully after I discovered that I was actually her landlord. Here's what happened. Okay, I want to start off by saying that I'm not petty or one to normally take revenge, but let me tell you something. I inadvertently became the landlord of one of my high school bullies. At this point, I was 25 and I was well past high school and it didn't even faze me initially. Now, I was young and I had a big heart. We had massive low-income properties which I managed for an absentee owner, and I was the type of landlord that would take in people running from a bad situation and furnish their home with donated furnishings. I would buy tenants meals, I would work out payment arrangements if they couldn't pay rent by giving them like odd jobs, or spot them some cash when they ran into a jam, and tenants absolutely adored me because of the good I did for everyone. So anyways, this girl for some bizarre reason tried to start a fight with me in the lobby of the building where my staff and tenants witnessed the interaction, but I told her to grow up and that I wouldn't be taking any disrespect from her now that we're grown adults. However, she sealed her fate because as word got around, the entire building of 200 plus units turned against her. Someone made a crude poster and cemented it on her door, and another tenant left heavy machinery going over her head and left it for the weekend. People were heckling her anytime she walked through the building, and after about 2 weeks, she came and begged me to let her out of the lease. Now, I let her go for her own safety and because things were escalating. Come moving day though, I had my revenge. I mysteriously lost the elevator key that day just as the movers showed up. Well, she went ballistic. She was kicking my office door and throwing a tantrum as I just smirked at her. And trust me, that was my one petty moment in life. I'm now much older and that was probably a bit much, but that girl really brought it on herself and honestly, I don't really regret it. Okay, this is something that I dream of because I've got some high school bullies that I would love to get some revenge on them. But the best part about it is that you didn't even have to do anything. Everyone knew that you were like the best person for that building and you were doing so much good for everyone. So for this idiot to fall into like old routines and be like, oh wow, I can't believe you, and like throw this big hissy fit and try to like fall back into old roles that are just really tired, like that is absolutely inappropriate and just rude. So I love the fact that your tenants chased her out and that you threw away the elevator key. That is hilarious. Because from the sounds of it, it seems like she's kind of the same person since high school, and that really sucks. Because you would expect someone would grow up, but it looks like she didn't. An entitled Karen demanded that I admit fault in a minor car crash that she quite literally caused, as she tried every tactic under the sun to get me to confess to something that I definitely didn't do, resulting in probably one of the most expensive insurance bills she's ever experienced in her life. But if I'm being completely honest, I don't care for a second because I didn't do anything wrong and she absolutely was at fault. Here's what happened. Okay, for a bit of context, I'm based in the United Kingdom, so we drive in the left lane, which will hopefully make some sense when I explain what happened. So I was driving along in a small country town about 20 miles per hour one morning, coming towards a left bend where a minor road also joins from the right. As I start to steer into the bend, a car comes shooting out of the minor road and crunches nose first into my driver's side. I look up a bit baffled and I see a woman in her 70s staring at me over the steering wheel and her crumpled bonnet. My first thought was that she had some kind of like medical emergency or something like that. So I butt scooted out of the passenger door and dashed around to ask if she was okay. Well, my sympathy vanished quickly though as she got out and came charging towards me, shouting, "Well, that was a stupid thing to do, you silly idiot. You were driving right into my path and not even looking at me." She then got really personal, calling me a scruffy idler. Despite this, I invited her to come sit at the side of the road for a minute in case she had like a head injury or she was like in shock or something like that. By now, a small crowd had gathered and she started inviting them to join her in berating me. Thankfully, one woman said, "I'm sorry, but I saw the whole thing. The original poster had right of way and had no reason to expect you to drive into her." I took the witnesses' numbers, I took some pictures, and then I started enlisting help to push our cars into a nearby car park as traffic was slowly starting to build up. Now, I think at this point she realized the odds were not in her favor and softened enough to give me her details like it was some kind of huge favor, which where I'm from, it's a legal requirement at the scene of an accident around here. She then actually suggested that she would drop the case against me if I paid for her damages without resorting to her lawyer. I said, well, let's see how much our repairs cost and we'll figure out next steps steps from there. Now, she did not like that at all and called me a silly girl again. I waited nearby while her recovery arrived and then headed off to my garage. I mean, I was only like 5 miles from my house. On the way home, I thought to myself, we all make mistakes and get angry to cover them. Maybe she's a carer or something like that and it just makes her cranky, but she very clearly needs her car. So I settled to wait and see what the repairs would cost before reporting to insurance. Well, my quote came to over $1,000. So I sent her a text message to say that was way too much money for me to pay on trust, and I'd be reporting the incident to the insurers along with the photos and witness details. The lady then sent me the sweetest few text messages. I mean, you'd think I'd just given her a grandchild, thanking me for my help, as well as asking if I would like to come to a National Trust place for lunch where we could get to know one another better and work out the best course of action for everybody. Well, after seeing that, I blocked her and I reported her to my insurance. 2 weeks later, my local garage had my car good as new, and she was probably facing the insurance bill of her life. Now, I think she was probably like a retired head teacher or something like that, and it was really fun to see her deploy all of her strategies from telling me off to schmoozing me up just to get me to comply with her version of reality. But thankfully, things worked out for me because honestly, I didn't do anything wrong. Yeah, that's super annoying, dude. This lady pulls out in front of you and she's trying to be like, wow, we need to come to the best solution for everybody. But it's like, bro, the only solution here is that you pay for my car. Like, what are you talking about? I am not responsible for this accident. You pulled out into the road and hit me, not the other way around. So yeah, I love the way you handle this. And honestly, this lady was acting incredibly entitled. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for calling a tow truck on a car parked in my spot after this guy literally said he refused to move his car, even though he didn't pay for that spot like we did? Because after it was all said and done, my husband is essentially saying that I took things way too far and that I'm adding unnecessary conflict in a neighborhood that we've been peacefully living in for 4 years. Because right now, I hate to say it, but I really am second guessing myself. Here's what's going on. Okay, so I'm a 27-year-old female and I moved to a townhouse-style apartment complex with my husband back in 2022. Our apartment complex offers gated parking with assigned spots for $25. If you're parked in the gated area without an assigned spot or a tag stating that you pay to park in the gated area, then guess what? Your car gets towed. There are multiple signs in the entrance stating this. We decided to pay for 2 spots to be closer to our apartment and to make it easier for when I have my son with me. Well, recently the complex started doing some construction work and the apartment manager sent out an email stating that certain parking spots will be reassigned temporarily to allow the workers easier access. In this email, it specifically states to see her in the office to get a new temporary spot and not to park in spots that we're not assigned to. And for reference, our spot was not reassigned. Well, a few nights ago, my husband and I were out and about, and when we came home late, we found someone parked in my spot. Now, we didn't know who the car belonged to, so we could even try to politely ask them to move. So I just moved close to my neighbor's spot and hoped that the tow truck didn't make his routine drive-by that night, which thankfully for this night he didn't. The next day, I got a message from neighbors saying that they saw a man parking in my spot and told him that he was parking in someone's assigned spot. And apparently he responded by saying, "I'm not moving my car." Well, last night, my neighbor messaged me that the same man parked in my spot again. And at this point, I was a little frustrated. So I came home and I got the number for the tow truck. I called and I made a complaint that someone was in my spot. I gave them the number of my spot along with the description of the car itself. My neighbor and I then sat outside by our doors waiting for the tow truck just to make sure that they took the right car. Now, this part, I have to admit, is a little bit petty. When the tow truck arrived and started grabbing the car, my neighbor and I were clapping and laughing. It's not like the man didn't already know it was a possibility because my neighbors did warn him. The apartment manager did send out notices about this. Also, if I had let it go, I would be the one at risk of getting towed as well, which I literally cannot afford at the moment. I sent my husband pictures of the car getting towed, and he had a few words for me when he got home from work. He felt that I should not have called the tow truck. He feels that I'm starting unneeded confrontation. We've lived here peacefully for 4 years, and now I'm starting problems with people. He thinks the guy's gonna retaliate against me. He said he didn't feel like a parking spot is worth the risk I'm putting myself in. But I told him I wouldn't have done it if we didn't pay for assigned spots. And I also wouldn't have done it if my car wasn't at risk of being towed for being in the wrong spot. But honestly, the more I think about it, I'm wondering if my husband's right. Was I the jerk for getting this guy's car towed? Because right now I'm not sure anymore. I'm gonna say this right off the bat. No, you're not the jerk. This guy deserved it. Holy crap, are you serious right now? This guy not only knew that he couldn't park there, but when someone confronted him about it, he's like, oh, I'm not moving my car. And that is the most obnoxious thing on planet Earth. Like for me, that would be like, okay, your fate is sealed. I'm absolutely gonna tow your car now. Because guess what? I pay for these spots. I pay to have that spot, so that means I get to park there. Otherwise, what's the point of paying for it? Like, dude, you can't just take that spot from me and expect me to be okay with it. Not to mention taking it willingly and just ignoring anything that anyone would say about it. So no, you're not the jerk. This guy had it coming. Yeah, you've lived here peacefully for 4 years, but that doesn't mean you roll over and play dead. If someone's disrespecting your property and your space, then congratulations, you get to stand up for yourself. So in that regard, I don't think you did anything wrong, and I think you're completely in the right. Today, my job was a waking nightmare as a server at a restaurant, as I literally had to serve and handle the entire restaurant by myself. Here's what happened. Okay, so recently I had a server's nightmare happen in real life. My coworker, who worked brunch as a bartender and was supposed to work the dinner shift as a server, was fired between brunch and dinner. I was only supposed to be the bartender, and my buzzer that day was going to come late because of a funeral. The reservation book only had like a 12 top at 5:30, but the book was only for call-ins unless the owner remember to put in the online bookings, which of course he didn't, and trust me, that will be relevant later. So I'm alone bartending and serving. The table is set for the 12 top, and then at 5 o'clock I get a 6 top and an 8 top, which by the way, that's not great, but I can handle it. I mean, I did have everything prepped for the 12 top after all. So needless to say, I'm handling things. The tables I have know that I'm the only one here and I'm basically on my own, and they basically say that they're gonna go easy on me. Then the 12 top arrives at 5:15 and I think to myself, great, okay, I'm busy, but I'm seasoned and I can handle this. But then 5:30 hits. I come out from the back running food and I look at the front and it is a madhouse. I drop the food off, I check in with the guests, and now I have 2 more 12 tops, a 16 top, a 9 top, a walk-in of 8, and 2 more 2 tops. Yeah, that's like over 60 more people, and the reservations are all birthdays. We only have 3 big top tables, and those are not set unless we know parties are coming in, which obviously I didn't. So I get the numbers and I then shout to them by saying, hi everybody, I'm gonna go as fast as I can, but it's literally just me here, and my coworker was just fired, so please be patient with me. So I'm bartending, I'm serving, I'm running, I'm hosting, I'm doing the waters, I'm setting up big tables. I literally didn't have enough menus to give to all of them. I then call the owner while frantically trying to make waters and setups, and he says he's too busy at his other spot to come right away. And I think to myself, oh my god, great, this is awful. Now bless the kitchen, they didn't know the table numbers, but they were helping get waters and setups, and trying to run bread as I'm shouting orders at them. The busser finally arrives from a funeral, and I said to them, congratulations, you're a server now. Take a table, in fact, take 3 of them. The owner finally arrives 45 minutes later and called in another bartender and a busser who arrived shortly after that. As I'm watching them walk in, I could hear the hallelujah chorus. It was literally a walking server nightmare, where you are the only person on and the door just keeps opening with more and more people. And I've got to say, this is going to go down as one of the best and the worst shifts I've ever done, because somehow I managed to keep my composure and handle it with some semblance of grace. Okay, as someone who's been in the serving industry and like the restaurant business before, holy crap. That is a lot of people all at once. I don't care who you are. What you just described sent like chills down my spine. That is so much work for one person. And the fact that you had no backup at all, like literally nobody to help you, that is crazy. Dude, I would not be able to handle that. So good for you for surviving the night, because this probably would have broken any normal server out there. Because holy crap, these were some very extraordinary circumstances. An entitled Karen cut in line when I was trying to go on the London Underground. So I got some petty revenge at the next stop as I hindered her progress in a way that really pissed her off. And honestly, it was incredibly satisfying to watch. Here's how it happened. Okay, so yesterday I had just about the most amount of fun it's possible to have on the London Underground. I was traveling for work with a suitcase and a laptop bag, so I made for the wider gate entering the tube. There were a couple of people ahead of me with similar baggage loads, when suddenly out of nowhere a girl cut in front of me, which honestly is not really out of the ordinary for London, but then she quickly moved in and tailgated the person in front, you know, without tapping in to pay, that kind of person. But again, I didn't think too much about it because sadly, it's a relatively common occurrence. But I did notice the pretty distinctive turquoise trolley case that she had in tow. I didn't particularly pay attention to where she went as I tapped in myself, and by the time I looked up, she was out of sight in the melee, which is the London Underground. So I did the only reasonable British thing of tutting and grumbling about the brazen theft, increasing everybody's fares under my breath. breath. A few stops later, as I got to my destination, I approached the similar wide barrier to tap out. I then noticed the same girl in her turquoise suitcase as she started matching her pace to mine slightly behind me. Now, knowing what had happened on entry, I knew it was my time to shine. I approached the wider gate exit again, tapping in as she closed the gap to mere millimeters behind. But of course, it was only right for me to stop dead on exiting the gate, just so I can make sure I've got my wallet, my passport, and my ticket from my onward trip. Well, when I did that, the gate slammed shut on her, as she was unable to shove past me and my baggage in time, which meant that she was left half in, half out of the gate, quite obviously having not paid her way, with a tube worker heading her way to help untangle her. And so, having confirmed the contents of my pockets and not wanting to be late for my Eurostar connection, I moved away without seeing if the young lady got her just desserts. But I definitely did learn a few new words as I moved out of earshot. Now, yes, it was stupidly petty, but if I had the chance, I would do it all over again in a heartbeat. Yeah, I love this. This is like so unbelievably obnoxious. Like, bro, just pay the fee to ride the underground. Like, what are we doing? Don't invade my personal space just to get through. Like, go pay your way through like everybody else. So I love the fact that you sabotaged her and said, oh no, you're definitely gonna have to pay. Because what she was trying to do, in my opinion, was very rude. An entitled Karen literally leaves a 1-star review at our coffee shop after we refused to replace a drink that her kid dropped over, which honestly was incredibly entitled and very baffling to watch in person, because the way she was acting was incredibly entitled. Here's what happened. Okay, so I've been a barista for about 3 years now, and I genuinely love my job. Regulars are great, the morning rush is chaotic but fun, and most people are perfectly nice. But last week, something happened that left me and my coworker just staring at each other in silence for a solid 10 seconds. So it was a Sunday afternoon, not super busy, but really steady. A woman came in with her son who looked maybe about 5 or 6 years old. She ordered a large iced caramel latte, she paid for it, and I handed it to her at the counter. She set it down on the little ledge near the pickup area while she was getting her straw, and her kid immediately grabbed it, fumbled it, and the whole thing went straight onto the floor. Now, this was a total accident. Like, the kid looked genuinely startled. I was also already reaching for paper towels. Then the mom looked at me and said, completely calm, that she needed us to remake the drink at no charge because the ledge design is a hazard for children, and we should really think about our store layout. Well, I explained as nicely as I could that unfortunately, we can't replace drinks that are dropped after handoff. It's just our policy. I even said I was sorry it happened because honestly, it was a bummer for everybody. She then asked to speak to my manager, which is fine, like totally her right. My manager came out, heard the whole thing, and said the exact same thing that I did. The woman then pulled out her phone and said that she was going to leave a 1-star review for creating dangerous conditions for family. And you know what? She did leave the review. She described the ledge as practically a trap. My manager responded to it very professionally and explained our policy. The wildest part is that like 4 other customers witnessed the whole thing, and one guy quietly came up to the counter after she left and said, I'll pay for whatever she ordered. We didn't let him, but it honestly really made our day because this was such a weird experience. Yeah, if you drop your coffee after handoff, it is absolutely your own fault. And you know what? If you don't want your kid grabbing it, then maybe don't put it right at the ledge. And look, I totally understand the policy. It is there for a reason and you gotta follow it. But if this lady actually had a better attitude and I was working at this coffee shop, I would probably just replace it anyways and not really blink an eye at it. Like, it's not that big of a deal. It was clearly an accident, and I completely understand that, like, yeah, things happen. And you didn't do it on purpose, so you're not like scamming the system. So in that respect, I would probably like skate around the rules if I worked there if she was nicer about it. But because she was so rude and was like, oh, this is practically a trap. I can't believe that you guys did this to us. Like, my dude, the only reason you're saying, oh, this is designed as like a hazard for children, that's because you literally let the kid grab it in the first place. Like, that's nobody's fault except for yours, dude. You should have handled that way better. So honestly, I think you and your manager handled this really well. You were really professional. You did everything right. And it's just unfortunate that the Karen in this story had such a bad attitude, because if she had just been a little bit nicer, I'm pretty sure all of this could have been resolved. Would I be the jerk if I told off an autistic guy who is constantly coming after my girlfriend? As it really seems like this guy is always trying to kick me out of the picture by insulting me and making it so I'm never around her. Because right now I'm worried about the repercussions of doing this and I really just don't know what to do. Here's what's currently going on. Okay, so my girlfriend and I are both 17 years old, and we've had a strange issue that has honestly been plaguing me morally. These past few months, a guy at our school has been consistently bothering and borderline harassing my girlfriend, and is becoming a bigger and more annoying issue. He's further on the spectrum and has less social awareness and tends to push people's boundaries. But I honestly didn't care much for his presence originally, but I can tell he's developed some kind of crush on my girlfriend, as he tends to talk to her and only her. It's gotten to the point where he purposefully shoves himself in between me and my girlfriend and tends to both dismiss and outright insult me whenever I try to talk to her. I don't want to be a jerk or be accused of being ableist, but it's gotten to the point where I don't even get the chance to speak to her without him interjecting at every sentence to have a one-on-one conversation with her and just completely excluding me, which by the way never works. In fact, yesterday I was speaking with my girlfriend and he just straight up told me that nobody cares what I had to say and just continued talking about random people whom he also really bothers. My girlfriend interjected and quickly told him that she very much cared, and he made fun of us for being together, something that happens a lot. And I'm glad she did, because I was already pretty short-tempered that morning and quickly fought the urge to tell him off. I know this isn't really a big deal, but it's genuinely so hard to do anything anymore with my girlfriend, literally just because of him. I just want to know how to approach this situation and end this mess without potentially getting in trouble. He's even made jokes about us becoming a threesome and how he has a crush on someone in a relationship. I know my girlfriend is equally annoyed, but she sees it more as a joke and annoyance more than anything. So would I be the jerk if I told him off for bothering us, or for him just straight up being rude to me? Because right now I don't know what to do. Bro, you have every right to tell this guy off. I don't care who he is or what he's got going on. And no, autism is not an excuse for acting like this. He's being incredibly obnoxious and very rude, and that crap absolutely needs to be shut down. You should not be expected to put up with that for a second. That is so unbelievably inappropriate. Think about it for a second. He's insulting you. He's trying to get between you and your girlfriend because he clearly has a crush on her. And he's sitting there trying to act like, you shouldn't be here. I like your girlfriend. And it's no, inappropriate, absolutely not okay. So you are well within your right to tell this guy to buzz off, and if he doesn't listen, then I would go to a teacher or even the parents, because in my opinion, this guy's being creepy towards you and your girlfriend, and you definitely do not need to deal with that. My entitled neighbor is constantly bothering me, as she is always knocking on my door trying to get in my business. But this most recent one honestly really put a bad taste in my mouth, because now I honestly don't know what to do about her. Here's what's going on. Okay, it's safe to say that my entitled neighbor is obsessed with me. It seemed like things were calming down because we've had issues in the past, but my god, I couldn't be more wrong. I have a doorbell camera and she wasn't knocking on my door as much, but to me, it seemed like she was running out of steam. Last night, my son and I went to a party at a friend's house. Several children were there and the host offered a sleepover for any kid who wanted to spend the night. Once all the kids were asleep, us adults enjoyed the adult beverages. So I left my son and my car at my friend's house to pick up in the morning, which I did, and then I walked home. And after I got home, I went straight to bed. Well, I was then woken up by the doorbell camera. My neighbor was there. I ignored her, but I watched her on the camera. She said she knew I was home and that if I didn't answer, she would call a wellness check for me because I came home with my son. I then told her through the camera that he was at a slumber party and I wanted her off my porch. She then asked why he was at a slumber party on a Monday night, and I said, well, it's none of your business, and please get off my porch. She then said she was going to call for the wellness check unless I showed her proof that he was okay. I then walked out the back door and towards her house, and she saw me when I was almost there and came running after me. I then knocked on her door. She then reached her front door right before her husband opened the door and demanded that I leave, which, my god, is incredibly ironic. Her husband answered the door and asked what was going on, and I just straight up told him what his wife did and threatened to do. He then yelled and cursed at her, asking her what was wrong with her and telling her to get in the house. She then told him, you need to lower your voice, saying that the neighbors would hear what's going on. He then said the neighbors already think she's a weirdo because they see her knocking on my door all the time. She then told him to stop and he told her to get in the house. So she went inside and he apologized to me and said that she isn't going to knock on my door anymore. Now, I felt really uncomfortable because of the yelling and the cursing, and I was also just a little bit tipsy. So I said okay and I went back home. Well, so far there's no knocks, but we'll see what happens next because this lady is literally crazy. Okay, I want to say first and foremost that I went through this person's post history and holy crap, yeah, their neighbor's crazy. They literally are always bothering them. They're being so weird, which also kind of makes sense as to why they have a doorbell camera in the first place. Oh my gosh, if I had a neighbor like that, I absolutely would do the same thing. But seriously, who in their right mind would walk up to your house and be like, hey, where's your kid at? Why is your kid at a slumber party on a Monday night? That's weird. I need proof, otherwise I'm gonna call the cops. It's like, dude, leave me alone. What are you doing? My kid's like status and my status of my life is none of your business. Coming up to my door and demanding information like that is creepy and very weird. So no, I'm not gonna give you any info. So yeah, I think you handled this correctly, but personally, I would call the cops every single time this lady comes over there because this behavior is weird and it deserves to be punished. My entitled Karen neighbor blocks my driveway with her stupid car, despite the fact that my daughter was having a medical emergency and I needed to leave right away, as she basically said that her phone call was more important than my daughter possibly passing away. So I did the only rational thing I could think of by blasting through her fence just to get on the road and get to the hospital. And now, as a result, this lady wants to take me to court for destroying her property. And at this point, I don't know if I'm the jerk or not, and I really don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things off, I was at home with my daughter last week when the absolute worst thing happened. For reference, she has a severe allergy, and she accidentally came in contact with something that she should not have. She started swelling up and having a really hard time breathing, and it escalated incredibly fast. We live super close to the emergency room, literally a 3-minute drive. So I grabbed her, I grabbed my keys, and I ran out to my car. Waiting for an ambulance would have taken way longer, and we simply didn't have the time. When I opened the garage, I realized a woman had parked her giant SUV directly across my driveway, completely blocking me in. She was standing right next to it, chatting on her phone and watching her dog go to the bathroom on the curb. So I panicked, I strapped my daughter in, I rolled down the window and I screamed that it was a life or death medical emergency and she needed to move her car right this second. Well, when I said this woman literally just held up a finger at me, told the person on the phone to hold on, and said, "You need to calm down and wait. I'm on a very important call. I'll move in a minute." Meanwhile, my daughter was wheezing in the back seat. When she said that, I did not even think. I put my car in reverse, I backed up as far as I could, and then I drove my car straight across my own front lawn, smashing right through this woman's wooden fence next door just to get around her SUV and into the street. I got my daughter to the ER in time and the doctors were able to treat her, and she's totally fine now, thank God. But now the woman is furious. She got my information from another neighbor and is demanding I pay for her broken fence and the landscaping I ruined. She even tried to file a police report for destruction of property. The cops didn't arrest me because of the documented medical emergency, but they said it is a civil issue now. My husband is just glad our daughter is safe, but he thinks I went totally crazy. He said that I should not have panicked and destroyed someone else's property, and he thinks that I made a terrifying situation even worse by causing a massive property dispute. So, am I the jerk in this situation? Because I really don't think I did anything wrong, but at this point I don't know what to do. Oh my gosh, this is seriously some crazy behavior. And I'm not talking about the original poster, I'm talking about this stupid lady blocking your driveway in. Are you kidding me right now? First off, why are you parked there? Don't put your stupid car in front of my driveway and keep me from backing out. Like literally just pull a little bit forward so I can go and do whatever I want to do. Don't block me in and be like, "I'm sorry, but my phone call is more important than your kid dying. I cannot move right now. You're gonna have to wait." I'm assuming the kid has some kind of like food allergy because that's pretty common. And I've got to tell you, as someone who has family members who have like peanut allergies or something similar to that, time is quite literally of the essence. So getting to the hospital, even if it's just waiting 5 minutes, could be the difference between life and death. So in my opinion, with all things that we know about this situation, I think you blasting through the fence was the only option in this scenario, especially if this stupid Karen neighbor was blocking you on purpose and refusing to move. So for your husband to sit there and be like, "Wow, this was really bad and I'm glad our daughter's safe, but you went crazy." You know, just because our daughter's dying doesn't mean you have to destroy someone's property. But like, dude, I would blast through 1,000 fences if it means saving my kid's life. What are you talking about? How is this even comparable? Like, your husband's completely an idiot. And sure, this is a civil matter and you can fix the fence, but in my opinion, this lady's absolutely to blame. If she had not been blocking your driveway and literally just standing there in the way, then you would not have had to have bust through the fence like that. So no, you are not the jerk. I honestly just could care less about any kind of like property dispute this lady has, because at the end of the day, you are totally justified. Because if she didn't want her fence destroyed, then she should have gotten out of the way and not blocked your driveway. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for changing the Wi-Fi password after my roommates kept using my gaming PC while I was away, resulting in one of the most frustrating experiences when I got back because literally everything was different on my computer and it really pissed me off. Here's what happened. Okay, so I live with two other roommates who are both in their early 20s just like me. We split rent evenly, but most of the stuff in the apartment is mine because I moved in first. We're talking the TV, the couch, the router, and my gaming PC setup. My PC is in the living room because my room is small. I told them from the start that they could use it occasionally if I wasn't home, but not to download random stuff or mess with any of my settings. Well, recently I went away for a 4-day trip to visit my parents. When I came back, my PC was completely different. New games installed, my Discord was logged out, random files on my desktop, and somehow they managed to download a bunch of mods that broke one of my games. I then checked the usage stats and they had been using my PC for hours every day while I was gone. When I asked them about it, they said they thought it was fine because according to them, I said that they could use it. But I told them I meant occasionally, not turning my PC into a communal gaming station. Well, they just laughed it off and said that I was overreacting. So the next day, I changed the Wi-Fi password and I didn't give it to them until they apologized and agreed not to use my PC ever again. And now they're calling me petty and saying that I'm actually like a landlord instead of a roommate. So am I the jerk here? Because honestly, I'm at a point where I just don't know if I'm in the wrong. Dude, if anybody touched my PC, I would lose my mind. Like, don't touch that. I use that for work. I use that for everything in my life. Do not touch that for a second. Also, if your PC's in some kind of like communal area, I would absolutely move that into your room and lock the door. Like, this could really be prevented if you just kind of like put your foot down and said, no, you're not going to touch it. Because with just a few preventative measures, you really can like prevent these people from screwing with your stuff. But no, I don't think you're the jerk. I don't think you overreacted because if I was in your shoes, I would be just as pissed off. My boyfriend's mom called my workplace to check on my character before deciding if I was good enough for her son. And honestly, this is the most baffling thing I've ever run into because I really don't know what to do about this situation. Here's how it happened. Okay, so I need to preface this by saying that my boyfriend, who I will call Jake, has been with me for about 3 years. We live together, we have a dog together, and we are very much functioning adults. Jake is 31 years old and I am 28. We met at work in different departments, so there was no conflict of interest. Plus, we've been living together in my apartment for about a year and a half. His mom, who I'll call Roberta, has always been a lot. Very involved, very opinionated, the kind of person who will like include herself into conversations that have nothing to do with her. Jake is her only child, and I think she genuinely believes that means that she has a permanent veto power over his life decisions. I've been polite. I've had dinners with her. I remembered her birthday. I asked about her garden, etc. I thought we had like a kind of strained but workable dynamic, but then last month my manager pulled me aside and told me that a woman had called the main office line asking to speak to someone about my professional conduct and personal reputation. She said she was a family member of someone I was in a relationship with and wanted to make sure I was a person of good character. Now, my manager, to her credit, told the woman this was not something that she would discuss and just ended the call. But she did tell me because she thought I deserved to know. Now, when I heard this, I was so stunned that I just kind of like nodded and went back to my desk. I then called Jake that evening and I told him what happened. And when I did, he went very quiet. He said he would talk to her, but when he did, his mom got defensive. She said that she wanted to make sure I was serious about her son and that she didn't say anything bad. She genuinely could not understand why either of us were upset. She thought this was a normal, reasonable thing to do. Like calling someone's place of employment to ask about their dating suitability is just a thing that people do apparently. Jake apologized on her behalf and told her she needed to apologize to me directly. She then sent me a text message that said, "I hope you understand I was coming from a place of love for my son." That was the apology. And you know what? I haven't responded. And honestly, I'm not really sure if I'm ever going to. Oh my gosh, if I was in a relationship and someone called my place of work to be like, I want to know what they're really like, I would be so pissed off it's not even funny. Like, this is so unbelievably unprofessional. Because what do you mean you're calling my place of work? Like, Roberta, it kind of seems like you're trying to start drama and like ruin my life. Can you imagine if this actually negatively affected the original poster? Like, if this really did affect their job in some way where they had trouble keeping their employment, all because this lady decided to be like, well, I don't think she's doing a good job. Like, holy crap, who knows what could have happened? So yeah, in my opinion, this was very inappropriate. Am I the jerk for reporting my neighbor after they kept using my driveway without asking? Because after they kept parking their car in my driveway, despite me literally telling them to stop, they eventually got a parking ticket, which essentially sent them into a rage, putting me in a situation where now I'm not sure if I made a mistake. Here's what happened. Okay, so I live in a house with a small driveway that fits 2 cars. I usually park one car there and leave the other space open in case guests come over, or if I need need to move things in and out of the garage. A few months ago, my neighbor started occasionally parking in the empty spot. At first, I thought it was just like a one-time thing. Maybe they had guests over or needed the space temporarily. I didn't say anything because it didn't seem like a big deal, but then it kept happening. Sometimes I'd come home and see their car in my driveway without any message or warning. And a few times I had to knock on their door and ask them to move it because I literally needed the space. They would then apologize and move the car, but it kept happening again later. Eventually, I talked to them about it, and I said I wasn't comfortable with them using my driveway without asking me first. They said they understood and then just blamed it on the limited parking on our street. For a while it stopped, but then recently they started doing it all over again. One night I came home late and their car was blocking part of my driveway, which meant I had to park on the street and move it later. And if I'm being honest, that was the point where I got frustrated and contacted the local parking enforcement to report it. And as a result, they ended up getting a ticket. Now my neighbor is really angry and says I could have just talked to them again instead of reporting them. But they're also telling other neighbors that I escalated the situation over something small. Part of me feels bad because getting a ticket sucks, but another part of me feels like I already tried talking to them about it and nothing changed. So am I the jerk? Because this honestly is incredibly frustrating. Bro, if someone's parking on my private property, then yeah, I'm gonna absolutely get them in trouble. Whether that's a parking ticket or even like towing them if it's so like flagrant. And seriously, these neighbors are trying to be like, wow, you escalated this. It's like, dude, I didn't escalate anything. All they had to do was not park in your driveway and they wouldn't get in trouble. Like they would not have a ticket of any kind and everybody would be happy. I don't care if there's bad parking on the street. Like it's not my problem. That doesn't give you the right to park in my driveway. Like what are we talking about right now? So yeah, this is some weird behavior. I don't think you're in the wrong. I don't think you're the jerk, because at the end of the day, your neighbors are very entitled and the way they acted was very rude. An entitled mom complains to my manager about me, all because I was doing my job and trying to keep everybody safe, which honestly was super frustrating and it really pissed me off. Here's what happened. Okay, so this happened a few months back. At the time, I was working at the mall and my company had opened up this new exhibit that was this sort of like interactive art experience. One of the rooms is essentially a giant artsy ball pit. Because this was a mall and only so many renovations can be made on what's supposed to be a temporary place, this 4-foot deep ball pit was essentially a big safety hazard. The bottom of it was just concrete covered by a thin layer of carpet, so there was absolutely no jumping into the pit just for safety. One day when I was on lot duty, there was this family with a few kids, including a younger son. Before anyone enters the area, I'm supposed to explain all the rules to them, including the no jumping rule. But this kid just runs past me and straight into the ball pit. Thankfully, the mom is decent at this point and has him come back. And it's here that I explain the rules to them. Well, they go in, I watch, and I already know this kid is being a problem. The jumping is only one of the things the family was blatantly ignoring. I had explained to them that they should put any personal belongings in the cupboards we had, but the mom just let this kid bring his iPad into the ball pit with him. Now, technically, this isn't against the rules, but it's not a smart idea to bring an iPad into a ball pit where it can easily get lost, but whatever. But the real problem started when this kid starts getting out of the ball pit and jumping back in. I see him doing this, and I tell the mom again that he can't be jumping into the pit. She just says, okay, and tells the son that he can't be doing that, but she doesn't actually do anything to stop him. He does it repeatedly, and I tell her several times that there's no jumping allowed, but the same thing just happens again. She tells him to stop and then does nothing as he just continues to get out and jump back in. Well, eventually I'm fed up, and I say directly to the kid, you can't be jumping into the ball pit. If you keep doing that, you're gonna have to leave. Well, after this, the mom finally takes her kids out and they leave. I then find out later that this entitled mother actually complained to my manager, saying, oh, I didn't like how that person spoke to my son. He was saying he was gonna kick them out. I don't like that. And if I'm being honest, I am so tired of these idiot parents not showing their kids that their actions have consequences, and that breaking the rules means that they lose privileges. You can't just tell your kids no and expect that to be the end of it, especially when they keep doing the same thing that they aren't supposed to do. Yeah, this is the definition of obnoxious. Like, are you kidding me right now? First off, yeah, you should absolutely not be jumping that ball pit. It is literally concrete at the bottom of it. So unless you want your kids breaking their arm or like busting an elbow, then yeah, you should probably tell them to stop jumping in. But also, dude, this drives me crazy. I can't stand parents that act like this. If your kids are doing something wrong and I've told you that you need to correct that, don't just sit there and be like, no, little Billy, don't do that. Stop doing that, son. And then watch them do it over and over again. I don't care if you're exhausted. Like, I don't get paid enough to deal with this crap. Plus, when your kid gets injured, you're probably going to try and sue me and the company, and then I'm going to lose my job because you're a terrible parent. So yeah, this entire situation would piss me off so bad, especially as the worker just trying to do my job, dude. This would be so obnoxious and I would hate every second of this. My coworkers are constantly bullying me at my job, despite the fact that I've worked there for 2 years and I've worked incredibly hard. Because right now I feel like I'm in a situation where I really just can't quit my job, but I also can't continue working in this kind of environment, and I really just don't know what to do about it. Here's what's happening. Okay, so I've been working in a restaurant in Europe for almost 2 years now. I got the job through incredible luck because at the time I had only been working as a waiter for maybe 10 months. From the very start, almost all my coworkers hated me because some of them had been working in hospitality for as long as I've been alive, yet they were earning the same salary as me. My first 4 months were really tough. I couldn't handle the number of customers. I mean, it is a very touristy restaurant I was working at, and I couldn't even carry a tray without feeling like I would drop it. I would come home and cry every day, but I was earning 3 times more than what I was at my previous restaurant, and for the first time, I was able to help my family and finance my goals. Somehow I survived. No plates or drinks fell, and I kept trying to improve. Almost 2 years have passed and I've improved a lot. I feel much more secure in my job as a waiter, and I consider many of my coworkers my friends. But to this day, some coworkers still bully me. I understand that being by far the youngest and least experienced means that people will naturally tease you, but it has reached a point where I simply can't take it anymore. I'm just too nice. I have no problem saying sorry when I feel I'm wrong, and I hate confrontation. These are the main reasons why in every place I've worked, that people either like me or feel pity for me, or they don't respect me and just try to take advantage of my kindness. 2 coworkers have physically confronted me, and many have shouted at me or cursed at me, but nothing happens. I've gone to human resources many times, and in my case, the human resources is the general manager. And trust me, he doesn't do anything about it. He just sets up a mediation, and even when nothing is resolved, no one is fired or suspended. And because they all know I'm too nice and have a hard time saying no, they call me in whenever someone is sick. In January, I worked 22 days, and 16 of those were double shifts, where I'm working upwards of 14 hours. It completely burnt me out. I became impatient, and for the first time in my life, I started arguing with the guests that would come in. I took a 3-week vacation in February, and it was by far the best vacation of my life. I'm going to start working this Thursday again, and I don't want to return motivated only to feel grumpy again after 2 days because of how people treat me. I don't want to get upset over the overworking and the constant negativity of my coworkers that drains me. Now, I cannot quit. I'm making excellent money, which is allowing me for the first time to support my family back home and invest in my retirement. I just want to feel good at the place where I work, and honestly, I don't know how to make that happen. Okay, bro, you have got to start standing up for yourself. Like, you've been there for 2 years. You've clearly proven that you are absolutely a good worker and you can stick around. You have some semblance of longevity and you don't plan on leaving anytime soon. So if I was in your shoes, I would absolutely start shooting that energy right back at them, dude. I would tell them straight up, listen, you're not going to talk to me like that anymore. Because trust me, if your manager's not going to do anything about it, then it's time for you to step up and be your own advocate. And you said to yourself, you can't quit. So guess what? Don't quit. Show these people once and for all that they're not going to talk to you like that. Correct them every single time it happens and literally put them in their place any chance you get. Because for some people, that might be the only way they understand that no, they can't just bully you and expect you to roll over and play dead. And trust me, I understand where you're coming from, where you're like, oh man, I'm too nice and I hate confrontation. I'm really quick to say sorry and all this other stuff like, oh, I don't want to get in the way. But my God, you're not getting in the way. These people are literally walking all over you. That is not you being nice. That's you willingly becoming like a doormat for them to wipe their feet on. And you don't deserve that. That's crazy talk, man. So yeah, if I was in your shoes, I would start standing up for myself starting the day I come back from vacation, because these people have no right to talk to you like that, and you definitely do not have to put up with it. Am I the jerk for not sending a guy some money that I've only really been talking to for about a month? Because after I said no, he literally blocked my number and I haven't heard from him since. And I don't know if I made a mistake or if I said something wrong. Here's what happened. Okay, so I've been talking to this guy consistently for about a month or like a little over a month. We actually met in high school and used to talk on the phone a lot back then, but nothing ever really came from it. Over the years, we would randomly run into each other. But again, it never went anywhere until recently when we started talking again. So there was some familiarity there, and he wasn't a complete stranger. He works on the road as an electrician and had just gone out of town for work. During the time we were talking, he started moving pretty fast emotionally. He told me that he loved me and said that I was already acting like his girlfriend. And that honestly turned me off a little because it felt way too soon. But I still told him that I liked him and that I thought the connection could grow. I just kept trying to pace things and not rush into anything. A few days ago, he asked me something like, hey, if I ever needed something, could I come to you? He framed it more like small things while he's on the road, like hygiene stuff or soap while he's working out of town. And I told him, of course. I'm generally a giving person, so I sent him $40 just to help out, even though he didn't directly ask me for any money. When I sent it, I also asked if that was enough or if he needed more, and he said he was fine. Well, a couple days later, he messaged me saying he needed $60 to make it home. I told him I honestly didn't feel comfortable sending more money right now. I mean, we've only been consistently talking for about a month, and I didn't want to start doing too much too soon. After that, he sent the $40 back, and then he blocked my number. And now I'm sitting here wondering if I did something wrong by saying no, even though I felt it was a reasonable boundary this early. So seriously, am I the jerk? Because this honestly was super weird. Okay, this is a giant walking red flag in my opinion. This guy seriously had some kind of like ulterior motive, and you just happened to call him out on it before he could like slowly string you along. Like this guy's like, hey, I need $60 more to get home, and you're the only person who can help me out. Like that's honestly how he was like trying to make it sound. Especially when he let it in by like, hey, could I ask you for like some things every now and then? Like, yeah, dude, okay, I already sent you $40. If you can't get home, then you're clearly not saving your money properly. And I think a really good indicator that someone has like nefarious intentions is by the way they react to when you say no. Because this guy, when you said, hey, sorry, I can't really give you any more money, he blocked you and literally sent the money back. Like, dude, what are we doing right now? Why is that your reaction? Why not say something like, oh, no worries, I'll figure something out? Especially if you like the girl. Like, dude, you did just say that, yeah, you're almost like my girlfriend. Like, that is obnoxious, and clearly it's just him lying, like, obviously. So no, you're not the jerk. This guy was clearly trying to scam you or something like that, because his reaction was a little bit weird, and I think you made the right choice. My entitled, idiotic friend brings her nasty, bratty child on our vacation. But instead of accommodating this demon spawn that we didn't plan on, we as a group decided to continue doing all the things that we wanted to do as adults, effectively no longer allowing our friend to participate as they were constantly watching after their stupid kid. But now that it's all said and done, she seriously tried to look at us and say it's our fault that her vacation was ruined, which honestly caused me to snap in a way that I'm sure my friend will never forget about. Because trust me, she had it coming, and I don't regret this for a second. Here's what happened. Okay, so last year around this time, my friends and I planned a trip to Cancun for a dream nature resort and spa. We all wanted to eat, drink, dance, and relax on the beach, and we wanted to do this with no kids. Now, I'm the only one without kids, so I was already looking forward to spending time with just my friends to unwind. Every other trip before this was planned with the kids, but this time there would be no early bedtimes, no crying, no screaming, no sand in our drinks because kids think it's funny to throw sand. Well, 1 week before the trip, one of the friends said that she's bringing her 10-year-old kid, and this woman can never tell her kid no. We had all warned her beforehand that if this happens, we aren't going to change anything. Well, to say that I was annoyed was an understatement, but you know what? I sucked it up. I still had 2 friends that were going child-free and had no intention of changing any plans. My 2 other friends and I drank, we ate amazing food, we danced all night and spent the day at the beach. The friend with the kid expressed her frustration about the rest of us doing what we wanted, and she simply couldn't do that. But my response was to pretty much say, well, that really sucks, but we're not going to change the entire point of this trip just because of your inability to tell your kid no. We invited her to do what we were doing multiple times, but her response was always to say, I can't do that. My kid wants to go to another place. So there was definitely tension between the 3 of us and her the entire trip. Well, when we were making our long way back home, all 3 of us got a really nasty message from her fiance. He was calling us bad friends, and how dare we not revolve our entire trip around her and their kid, that she had a terrible time and it was our fault. And I was like, pardon me, what did you say? That was pretty much the last straw for me. Now, I never tell my friends how to parent their children, but their daughter is so nasty. She is so spoiled, and like I've stated earlier, has never been told the word no ever. So please believe me when I say that this kid is super entitled. In contrast, my other friends are a lot more reasonable when it comes to their children. Their children are polite, they have general understanding about boundaries, and they behave really well for like 10-year-olds. So my text back to him was pretty much to say, well, we made these plans a year in advance, expecting us to be fine with the fact that you guys dropped it on us, that your child was coming a week before we were leaving, and then expecting us to change everything and just cancel all of our plans because, you know, you guys can't tell your kid no, is simply not fair for us at all. That is a you problem and not our problem. Now, here's the thing. I would understand if something came up and she had like no choice but to bring her kid. I mean, crap happens. People cancel. I get it. But that literally was not the case. Her fiance was home the entire time, and her grandmother was looking forward to watching her granddaughter, but her kid freaked out for not being allowed to go on the trip and they just couldn't tell her no. Well, now she and her fiance are super pissed. So honestly, are we the jerks in this situation? Are we really the reason why she had a terrible time on this vacation? Because right now I am very annoyed and I don't know what else to do. Bro, your friend's an idiot. Are you kidding me right now? Dude, what are you doing? Just get on the plane and run away from that kid. Throw her at the grandparents and be like, okay, this is your problem now. I gotta go and like be an adult and have fun. Like the fact that your friend had a choice to not bring their daughter, for me is all the proof you need that these people don't know what they're doing. Because the barrier of entry here is like, hey, if I don't bring my kid, I can do what we planned for a year, or I can bring my kid along and then act like, oh, this is your fault for not accommodating me. It's like, dude, no, why didn't you like accommodate yourself? Why did you do this to yourself? Like if someone throws themselves down a flight of stairs, are they gonna look at you and be like, wow, why did you put stairs there? It's like, what do you mean, dude? I didn't do this crap. You did it to yourself. What is happening? So no, you are absolutely not the jerk. This lady's an idiot. The fiance could have watched them. The babysitter could have watched them. There are so many options that could have taken care of this situation, but instead she decided to bring this nasty little brat along to ruin their trip. And you've got it right. That is literally not your problem, and that falls squarely on her shoulders. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. A regular customer gave me their phone number in hopes that I would date them, and now I feel like I screwed things up because I politely told them that no, I'm not interested and that I have a boyfriend, and now I seriously just don't know what to do. Here's what's happening. To start things off, I want to say that in hindsight, it was a bad decision, but I'm fairly new to serving, so I apologize if it was a dumb mistake. I work at a fairly small mom and pop restaurant, and there's a regular that's been visiting before I started working there. I started making casual conversation here and there on top of my manager's interaction with him. He always comes by himself, so I assumed he might be at the restaurant for some company while also enjoying his favorite foods. Well, one day he left his phone number, and like an idiot deer staring straight into the headlights, I just stood at his table and smiled and then slowly walked away afterwards, since I was still in customer service mode. Afterwards, I wanted to establish boundaries by stating that I had a boyfriend, but if they wanted to be on friendly terms and have a chat here and there, then that would be completely fine. Again, this is because I'm still under the assumption that maybe they're lonely or something like that. Well, they responded by saying no to the friendship offer because their intention was to date. After this, I thought everything was fine and it felt like everything returned to normal. Like I truly felt like I had a weight off my chest. The regular still came in and everything felt normal for a while, but recently I've had coworkers tell me that it looks like he's figured out my general schedule and that he's definitely been coming to the restaurant more and more. On top of that, I had a coworker tell me that his eyes constantly follow me as I move around the restaurant, and now I feel so much unease. And I just don't understand where this sudden change in behavior came from. I'm wondering if some people just get the wrong idea just because a server is always polite to them. I'm just trying to get through my shift because trust me, it is not that deep. Oh yeah, this guy absolutely had the wrong intention, and he definitely confused like a friendly customer service smile with this whole like, oh yeah, I'm into you. I'm being nice to you as your server because I want to date, not because that's my job requirement. Like, dude, don't go up to people in customer service and be like, oh, because they're being nice to me, suddenly that means we have a future together. It's like, no, they're trying to make rent and they're trying to get you out the door. They do not care about you. Like, sure, they want to help you out in any way that they can, but that's honestly as far as it goes. So no, you didn't do anything wrong. I think setting that boundary and being like, no, I'm not available, I'm not interested in you, or just saying whatever you need to, really is the best thing for this guy so he can eventually like move on. Even though from the sounds of it, it doesn't seem like he's doing that anytime soon. My boyfriend tried to teach me a lesson by literally going out clubbing to make me feel jealous in the way that supposedly I made him feel jealous. But right now, I'm honestly really pissed off because this feels completely blown out of proportion. And at this point, I really just don't know what to do about this. Here's what happened. Okay, so I'm really upset and confused about this situation, and I don't know if I'm overreacting or not. For starters, I asked my boyfriend if I could go to a gaming cafe with him sometime, and my intention was honestly just to play games with him because I don't have a gaming PC, and I thought it would be nice to experience something that he enjoys together. But he said that he didn't like the fact that we would be surrounded by many men, and he really hates the fact that these men might come up to me and talk to me. I also told him that I don't want to avoid doing things just because of the presence of other men. If he had a problem with the idea, I would have been completely okay with him just telling me directly. Now, of course, I wanted him to understand my intentions, but I wasn't trying to force anything. Now, instead of talking to me about it, he texted my cousin asking if they could go clubbing. And for context, clubbing isn't even something we normally do. When I asked him why he did that, he said that he did it so that I could feel what he felt and basically be in his shoes. And that really pissed me off because it felt like he was trying to get revenge or balance things out instead of just communicating with me like an adult. The worst part is it triggered my trauma because in the past he used to do this kind of like revenge behavior where if I did something that he didn't like, he would purposely do something to hurt me back. I genuinely thought he had changed since then, but this situation made me feel like maybe he hasn't. And now I'm trying to call him to talk about it and explain how hurt and angry I am. And he's now just asking me to stop calling and texting him. And that honestly hurts even more. So am I wrong for being this upset about this situation? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, I gotta be honest, I think your boyfriend is incredibly immature and you honestly can do a lot better than this. Because bro, this guy has no reason to act this way. You were just asking to go to a gaming PC with him and be like, oh, let's spend time together. This could be fun. Which for the record, that does sound fun. Like, why not go out and do that? Is he seriously that insecure that he's like,
oh no, there's gonna be other guys there and I don't want them talking to you. I couldn't stand it.
And it's also not like you said, oh, I'm going to a gaming cafe. You literally asked him and said, hey, can we go and do this? This could be a fun like date night or something like that. So for him to go out of his way and be like, oh,
I'm gonna get revenge by going clubbing. Now you know how I felt.
And it's like, dude, what is happening right now? You were just asking if he wanted to do that. And instead, he's the one going out and actually trying to like be around women just to make you hurt. And I've got to be honest with you, and this is only from my perspective. If I had a girlfriend who did that to me, I would probably be like, okay, this is clearly not working and I don't think I want to be with you. Because this whole like, oh, I'm going to get you even, I'm going to get eye for an eye over literally anything is crazy behavior, especially when you didn't do anything in the first place. It's not like you went out clubbing to look for men, like you just asked to go out with your boyfriend. Like this really was just an innocent request that he blew completely out of proportion. So no, if anything, I think you're underreacting in this scenario. Your boyfriend is clearly toxic and he obviously just doesn't like you. And in my opinion, I think if I was in your shoes, I would be dating just about anybody else because this behavior is really weird. Am I the jerk for backing out of a trip with my friends? All because they've slowly changed all the activities to stuff that I can't participate in. Because right now I am super frustrated and I just don't know what to do. Here's what's currently going on. Okay, so my friends and I have all been planning an end of the school year senior trip to New York ever since last year. We've all been super excited. We've already booked our Airbnb and we bought our tickets. Now I'm a year younger than all of them because I started high school a year early. And originally on our trip, we had planned some sightseeing stuff, as well as seeing some Broadway plays, visiting the flea markets, going to some art museums, and basically just going to all kinds of touristy New York things. Well, recently, with all of them turning 18, they've wanted to add things like nightclubs, tattoos, and piercings together on the docket. Now, I'm in no way opposed to this, and I said that it could be fun if we got like matching stick and pokes or whatever. However, I wouldn't really be able to visit bars and clubs with them due to being underage. They said they want to go to professional places and stuff and get things done right. And I said that's fine, but to limit this to like one night tops. That way I'm not just sitting at the Airbnb every single night alone doing nothing. I honestly would love to go because I do like parties and dancing and all this other stuff, but I've also been accepted to a prestigious university and I don't want to have anything on my record for the risk of like getting it rescinded. I said that if they feel strongly about going clubbing and stuff like that, I would try to just like sneak in with them. But they all told me that they don't want to risk getting kicked out of the club, so they said that I should just get a fake ID. Now this is something that could probably get me into legal trouble, and I really just don't want to risk it. When I told them that, they made it sound like they planned on going clubbing and stuff much more than we had originally intended, meaning I would basically be spending at least half the nights of the trip doing nothing. I told them that I hope they had fun, but if they're going to plan things that I can't really participate in, then I won't come on the trip with them because I'd rather go on a senior trip with other people where we do things that we all enjoy. My friends are now saying that I'm guilt-tripping them into changing their plans, and that it's unfair if I cancel this close to the trip because it makes it a lot more expensive for everybody else. They also said that I'm over-exaggerating a bit because I can still do all the daytime activities we had originally planned. You know, stuff like Broadway tickets and stuff like that. So according to them, I'm being overdramatic. But seriously, I really need to know from the internet, am I really being overdramatic by backing out of this, since literally all their plans kind of revolve around stuff I can't really do? What should I do? Okay, the same logic these people have of like, oh wow, you're really making things inconvenient by changing the plans last second. Like, bro, that's exactly what they're doing to you. That logic is so flawed, it's not even funny. Like, these friends of yours, by the way, are not good friends at all. Like, they're even encouraging you to get a fake ID just to sneak into these clubs with them. Like, I don't know about you, but that sounds like a really stupid idea. And in case you didn't put two and two together, even though I think you did, like, no, you absolutely should not do that. Don't use a fake ID. Like, you're absolutely going to get called out. You think the bouncer and the people up front checking it are not going to be like, yeah, that is 100% fake. They look at that stuff all the time. I guarantee you they're going to spot it and be like, yep, that's a phony. No way. Then you're going to get called out and you're probably going to get like publicly embarrassed or worse. So no, don't even bother with this group of people. I would absolutely back out if I was in your shoes, because from the sounds of it, they don't care whether you go out with them or not. They just want you to stick with the plan so they don't have to spend as much money on the Airbnb. And that, in my opinion, is super toxic and not something that you should have to deal with. Am I the jerk for throwing away a 4-year relationship all because my boyfriend called me a buzzkill on my promotion night? Because after I broke up with him, he said that I'm hormonal and that I need therapy. And right now, I honestly don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so I recently ended things with my boyfriend, who I will call Liam, after we had been together for like 4 years. We shared an apartment, we shared a dog, and what I thought was a solid future. But ever since the breakup, his family and some of our mutual friends have been calling me impulsive, saying that I'm throwing away a marriage track relationship over a single bad night. The truth is, it wasn't one night. It was 4 years of feeling like my emotions were an inconvenience to his schedule. Liam is the kind of person who's the life of the party as long as he's the narrator. He can spend hours dissecting his CrossFit personal records or the office politics at his tech firm, and I was always his biggest cheerleader. But over time, I noticed a pattern. Whenever I had a win, or more importantly, a bad day, Liam would physically start looking for an exit. He would start checking his phone, or he would suddenly remember he had to go to the store, and it was always something like that. The breaking point happened though last Tuesday. I've been working towards a senior analyst position for like 18 months. I finally got the news that I landed it alongside with a significant raise. I was vibrating with excitement. I called Liam and I told him to meet me at our favorite steakhouse just to celebrate. When we sat down, I started telling him about the feedback my boss gave me, but not even 3 minutes in, Liam interrupted me to talk about how his coworker, who I will call Dave, bought some ergonomic keyboard he's been eyeing up. I tried to pivot back to my news and he just literally sighed and said, "Babe, we get it. You got the job. Can we just enjoy the dinner without making it a PowerPoint presentation?" And when he said that, I felt the air go out of me. I told him that it hurt my feelings that he didn't seem to care about something I worked so hard for. Well, his immediate response was to say, "Oh, here we go. You're being way too sensitive. It's just a title change. Don't let it get to your head and ruin the vibe." Now, I tried to drop it, but I was visibly quiet. Then, 10 minutes later, he got annoyed that I wasn't fun enough, called me a total buzzkill, and told me that my constant need for validation was exhausting. He then spent the rest of the dinner texting his group chat about a fantasy football trade. When we got home, I realized I couldn't do another 40 years of being told my feelings were a vibe kill. And it's here that I told him I wanted to break up. And when I said this, he was genuinely shocked. He told me I was being hormonal and dramatic, and that normal people don't end 4-year relationships over a dinner conversation. He eventually moved out to his brother's place, but he's been sending me long emails about how I'm blindsiding him and that I need therapy for my emotional instability. My mother even told me that I should have just waited for him to be in a better mood to talk about it. I'm starting to look at my furniture in this empty apartment and wonder if I really am just too sensitive, or if I finally just stopped accepting the bare minimum. So am I the jerk for leaving him over this situation? Because right now I don't know what to do. Honestly, it sounds like this is like the straw that broke the camel's back, because holy crap, your boyfriend sounds like an idiot. Here you are saying like, wow, I got this really good job. I'm really excited about this. Aren't you excited for me? And instead of him being like, oh my gosh, baby, I'm so happy for you. This is so exciting. Wow, you got an increase in pay. That's awesome. He instead talks about Dave and his stupid keyboard, or like diverting it to something about him. Like, dude, what's happening right now? That's not how you respond to good news from your girlfriend. You need to be excited. You need to support her. Why would you sit there and be like, babe, it's not that big of a deal. This is so exhausting. You just want validation. I mean, come on. Like, are you kidding me right now? That is so ridiculous. So this guy's allowed to talk about all of his stuff and his personal records at CrossFit, but the second you bring up anything good about your life, suddenly it's a problem. Suddenly you need therapy for your emotional instability and you're just being hormonal. Like, come on, that is so ridiculous. That's unfair. And the worst part about it is that this is not an isolated incident. This isn't the first time this guy's done this to the original poster either. So yeah, this entire situation sucks. I don't think you're the jerk. I think your boyfriend is a piece of garbage, and I honestly don't blame you for breaking up with him. He sounds like a piece of garbage, and I think you can do way better than this. My partner literally walked past me while I was on the floor in pain after I bumped my back. And now I simply feel like I can't get past this, because right now I'm pissed off and I don't know what to do. Okay, I'm really sorry if this is all a bit jumbled, but I'm writing this at work in between calls. This is about me and my partner, and it happened a few hours ago. For a bit of backstory, every 3 weeks or so, my partner meets up with his friends online to hang out and drink. He usually drinks like half a bottle of whiskey, and to me it's all good and fine, like he's allowed to have fun. Now, I needed to work on Saturday, so I went to bed at around midnight, with my alarm set for about 6:15 in the morning, and he must have gone to bed between about like 3 to 5 in the morning, knowing him. At about 6 o'clock in the morning, I got woken up by a nightmare, and I jumped right out of bed. I somehow missed my step, I fell down and hit my back and my spine right on the corner, and I immediately went down crying because it hurt like really badly. My partner then got woken up by his alarm at about 6:15 in the morning, and he saw me crying laying on my back. He came to me, and as I explained what happened, he said to wait a second and left in the direction of the kitchen and the bathroom. I thought he was going to get an ice pack or something like that, but instead he went to the toilet. Now, I've managed to sit myself up at this point, but I was still on the floor in pain and crying. Once he returned, he walked right past me to his side of the bed, got under the covers, and went right back to sleep. I don't know if he just forgot about me on the floor in his drunken mind or what, but seriously, that's not like him. Once I managed to get up on my own and turned on the nightstand light, he let out a groan, but that was about it. I then got myself ready and I went to work, and that's where I'm at right now for the next like 10 hours. My back still hurts, by the way, especially if I accidentally touch the part that I hit, and I know I'll be fine, but I'm just really mad about that. I kind of want to lean into it and text him my unfiltered thoughts, but I feel like I need an outside perspective first if I'm overreacting. I could have spoken up when he walked past me and laid down, but at that point I was so confused that I just sat there. So would I be the jerk, or would I be overreacting if I give him a piece of my mind? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, honestly, in my opinion, I think you would be overreacting because it sounds like this guy was just drunk. He was going to the bathroom, he literally was probably going to pee, so he most likely wasn't cognizant that you were in pain on the floor. Like, I don't know, it kind of seems like you're making a mountain out of a molehill, because is this really that big of a deal? I understand that you got scared by a nightmare and you fell on the floor and you hit your back, but like, how is that his fault? Also, how is he supposed to know that's what happened if you don't get it out there and be like, oh my gosh, I hurt my back, please help me? Like, I don't know, this just seems like one of those situations where a bit of communication would go a long way, instead of just going off on him and being like, wow, I can't believe you abandoned me on the floor after you were drunk and going to the bathroom and didn't know what was wrong. And sure, he probably shouldn't have walked off to go to the bathroom, but hey, the guy was not in a completely like cognizant and like aware state of mind. The original poster even clarified by saying that yeah, he went to bed at 5:30 in the morning. So he was running on like 30 minutes of sleep, meaning that he was sleep deprived, drunk, and he had to go to the bathroom. So yeah, I think there's a lot bigger things on his mind than you falling down and bumping your back. So yeah, I think you would be overreacting over like, I don't know, giving him a piece of your mind over something that really is not that big of a deal. My entitled sister-in-law refuses to put down the phone and stop filming our entire family for her content, as she is absolutely determined to become an influencer, despite the fact that everybody else in the family doesn't want to be filmed. But after she tried to force my daughter into being in her stupid content, I finally snapped at her and I put her in her place, telling her off once and for all in front of the entire family that the way she's acting is completely unacceptable. Here's what happened. Okay, for starters, I have a 13-year-old daughter, and my sister-in-law has two boys ages 8 and 11 who are deeply into the Canadian hockey and baseball travel tournament lifestyle. She's a stay-at-home mom and went down the Instagram and TikTok family lifestyle influencer rabbit hole, and because of that, over the last year, she's leaned hard into the hockey mom thing by posting hotel reviews, game pictures, and travel tips. In fact, she wants to turn her page into a full family brand. When her boys were younger, she used to say that she wished she had a daughter to do girly stuff with, and so I included her in a few things with my daughter, like picking out her first communion dress and stuff like that. And back then, she was sweet, supportive, and genuinely the cool aunt to the family. But lately, every single family thing has become content. She films everything, stages candid moments, and even narrates like she's vlogging. At Christmas, she tried to dictate the whole thing. From the gifts all the way to the movies, it all became scripted. The older cousins hid in the basement to hide being filmed, and my daughter later told me that she hated being recorded and didn't want to be on my sister-in-law's page. Apparently, my sister-in-law kept pestering her to braid hair or decorate cookies, etc., all so that they could make content. But my daughter didn't know how to shut it down, so she just made herself as un-influencer friendly as possible by rolling her eyes or picking her nose, etc. Well, last weekend we went out with my mom for her 70th birthday, and my sister-in-law immediately started filming again, making the whole dinner awkward until her partner snapped at her to stop. During dinner, my daughter mentioned that she was going dress shopping for her 8th grade graduation. And when my sister-in-law heard this, she lit up and started pushing to come along just so she could expand her brand into full family content. And even though I ignored her, she kept pushing it. In the parking lot, she asked again for the time and place. And at this point, I snapped at her. I told her that my daughter is not a prop. She's not her girl substitute. And she does not have permission to film or post her. She then got defensive and said that I was stifling her creativity and that she needs my daughter because she doesn't have one. But at this point, I just told her off very loudly and colorfully. And sure, my daughter heard me swearing, but with 2 parents who work in construction, she's heard way worse than this. Later on, my sister-in-law started a group chat saying that I was rude, mean, and embarrassed her, and that everyone posts everything these days. In fact, she even demanded that I apologize. Well, I refused, and I just reiterated our boundaries. My siblings then also backed me up and said that they also don't want their kids in her content. And now my sister-in-law has not responded yet. I know I raised my voice, but she has ignored every boundary I've set because you know what? My priority is protecting my daughter's boundaries. So unequivocally, I know that I'm not the jerk for that, and I will never apologize. However, my sister-in-law just didn't get it. So am I the jerk for yelling at her in the manner that I did? Because right now I'm not sure what to do. Oh my gosh, I love this so much because I can't stand the sister-in-law in this story. Like, my God, if you want to try to create a brand of some kind and like, I don't know, build content or anything like that, I say go for it. But you can't expect everybody else around you to jump on board like that. That is honestly obnoxious and so annoying. So no, you're not the jerk. This lady was not getting it and she was trying to turn every family moment into content. And it's like, dude, I don't consent to that and neither does my daughter. So please keep us out of it because there's no excuse for that and honestly, it's just intrusive at the end of the day. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for not giving out my passwords to my current partner simply because we only just started dating and I feel like it's way too soon to take that step? Here's what's going on. Okay, so I've been dating my partner for a couple of months now. This is my first real relationship, and recently they've been asking me for my social media passwords. I've been quick to shut it down in the past, and this weekend I was cooking dinner for them, and while we were eating, they brought the topic up again. I tried to steer the conversation in a different direction, but they just kept pushing the topic over and over again. So I reiterated that I don't feel comfortable sharing that information yet, as we've only been together for like a few months. But it's not a hard no, and we could revisit the topic later down the line. They got very quiet when I said that, and then after like a few minutes of silence, they took my plate and said that I should leave. I tried to apologize, but my partner just said I don't trust them and dumped the food in the trash. I've been trying to contact them all weekend, but they're not answering me other than to say that if I was serious about the relationship, I would give them my passwords. The whole reaction to this situation has left me very confused because they've always been very level-headed before. I'm unsure if I violated some kind of like unspoken relationship rule, but I'm honestly not really sure. And for the record, they've given me their social media passwords unprompted too, by the way, but I decline to use them as I trust them and I see no need. So am I the jerk here because I don't know what to do right now? Okay, holy crap, you're not the jerk. This is way too soon in the relationship for anyone to be like, let me look through your social media. Like, bro, why do you need my password so badly? Like, this is really early and I just don't think that's appropriate. So no, I don't think you're the jerk at all. My girlfriend has scrubbed all photos of me from her social media presence and inside of her room. And at this point, I really don't know what to do about this. Here's what's happening. Okay, so my girlfriend and I have been getting into quite a few back and forth fights over the past month, and it feels like nothing is changing. And recently, she started removing photos of me from her Instagram. When I brought it up to her, she eventually removed me from everything entirely, including her highlights. We talked about this a couple of nights ago, and she told me she is simply exploring herself while in college and doesn't want social media to be the center point of our relationship. She also mentioned that in the past, she had asked me to post photos of her more often and felt I didn't do so regularly enough. Throughout the entire conversations, she was very cold and seemed almost emotionless, which made the interaction feel even more distant. Beyond social media, I've noticed that photos of us in her room have also disappeared. When I asked about them, she said the wall photos fell off a month ago, and the one on the desk fell behind and she was too lazy to pick it up, and the ones on her door were taken down because she bumped them and didn't want them to rip. While I expressed that this is bothering me deeply and impacts how I view the security of our relationship, she told me I was overreacting and accused me of stalking her pages, even though I literally only checked once. And she says this isn't going to change anything about it. And so at this point, I'm hurting and feeling very very disconnected right now. So what are some constructive ways to handle a situation where a partner is physically and digitally removing my presence from their life while also remaining emotionally distant? How can I effectively communicate my need for security when my partner dismisses these concerns as overreacting? What should I do? Okay, it kind of sounds like your girlfriend's trying to cheat on you without feeling guilty about it. So she's taking down photos of like you all over her social media and in her room just so whoever this guy is that she's bringing over doesn't see it. Like all of her excuses are a load of crap, and any explanation of her exploring herself in college, in my opinion, sounds like, oh, I'm just gonna cheat on you and tell you later about it by breaking up with you. Like what the crap? This is absolutely not okay. And if anything, she's like silently quitting this relationship, because the second you notice, oh wow, she's being emotionless and not really like following through with what I'm saying, that's the moment she broke up with you in her head and is just kind of like stringing you along instead of breaking up with you and being like, okay, I want to see somebody else. So yeah, either she's breaking up with you or she's actively cheating on you. And at this point, based on what you're describing, I kind of think that either one of those could be true. I refused to share my notes with a classmate who tried to get my scholarship revoked after they anonymously tipped off the school accusing me of plagiarizing my primary research paper. And now, after I refused to share my notes with them, I'm now being painted as this terrible person who's trying to tank this other guy's GPA. And at this point, I don't know if I'm the jerk and I really don't know what to do. Here's what's happening. Okay, so I'm in a high-stakes biochemistry seminar where the curve is brutal. There's this one guy who I will call Marcus who's been competitive since day one. We're both pre-med, but he treats every lecture like a gladiator arena. Last month, we had a major lab project, and I spent weeks on my data. A few days before it was due, I got an email from the dean of students saying an anonymous tip claimed that I had plagiarized my primary research from an online database. I then had to spend about 3 days pulling my hair out, gathering timestamps, rough drafts, and my browser history to prove the work was mine. Now, the investigation cleared me, thankfully, but the anonymous tip came from an IP address linked to the library's study corrals, which was during a window when Marcus was the only one logged into the nearby printer. Now, I can't prove 100% that it was him, but the timing and the specifics of the accusation were way too targeted to be anybody else. Then fast forward to this week. Marcus caught a bad flu and missed the 3 most important lectures before the midterm. These lectures cover material that isn't in the textbook. It's all the professor's original research. And it was here that Marcus messaged me acting like we're best friends. He asked me for my color-coded notes and my recorded audio of the lectures. But you know what? I told him no. I didn't mention the snitching incident. Instead, I just said that I don't feel comfortable sharing my intellectual property with someone I'm competing against for a curve. When I did this, he flipped out. He started a group chat with other students saying that I'm trying to gatekeep the medical profession and that I'm being malicious by sabotaging his GPA over a few missed days. A few people are saying that even if he is a jerk, I shouldn't stoop to his level and risk his future. I feel like I'm just protecting myself from someone who already tried to ruin me, and at this point, I really just don't know what to do. Okay, honestly, if I was in your shoes, first off, I would not give anything to this guy because it kind of does sound like Marcus was trying to sabotage you in some kind of way. And sure, you don't have 100% proof, but like who else would do that to you? It seems like Marcus is the only one who's super competitive about this class, and I don't think it's completely wrong to be like, yeah, this was probably him. He was most likely the anonymous tip-off, and that really is concerning. So no, you're not the jerk. You're not responsible for this guy's future. You're not responsible for his GPA or anything else. And it's funny, the very people trying to be like, wow, you're ruining his like college career, those people could also share their notes with him. Like if he couldn't get it from you, I'm sure other people could step up and help him out. Like, are you really the only person with the notes and like any kind of recordings you can go off of? I don't know, that's just super annoying and like really weird in my opinion. So no, you're not the jerk, and based on everything we know, I think you did the right thing. Am I the jerk for not paying a partial amount on my roommate's $100 rent late fee? Because right now, I honestly feel like I shouldn't have to participate in that, despite the fact that my roommate really thinks that I should. Here's what's going on. I'm a 23-year-old female and I live with 2 other roommates. They're both similar age to me, and one of them I will call Nikki and the other I will call Katie. Our rent is split 3 ways, with Katie paying about $150 more than Nikki and I, since she's in the master bedroom with a private bathroom. Our rent is due on the 1st of every month, and if you don't pay by the 3rd of the month, a $100 late fee is added onto it. And if you don't pay by the 10th, an additional $50 fee is added. Nikki was late on rent this month because she had the flu, so a $100 late fee was added to our bill. Well, this past Thursday, Nikki texted texted Katie and I, stating that she thinks we should split the late fee because for one, Katie and I got our late fees waived, and technically one waiver is granted per apartment during a 1-year lease, and secondly, she's never been late on rent. I talked to Katie that night to see how she felt, and Katie felt that we shouldn't have to pay a partial amount. Katie's reasons are basically, well, one, she already pays close to like $1,000 for rent, and she doesn't have extra money, and secondly, if the shoe was on the other foot, Nikki would not pay a partial on a late fee. It also muddies the water if one of us gets another late fee before the lease is up. I mean, do we all pay the fee together again? Well, when Katie said this, I agree with her. I should not have to pay a partial on Nikki's late fee since my late fee came from the apartment complex changing the system on how we pay rent the month that I moved in, meaning that it literally was not my fault because my payment didn't go through on time. The apartment manager then decided to give me a waiver due to not informing me about the system change when I met with her days before moving in. Also, I agree that if Katie and I had a late fee, Nikki absolutely would not pay a partial amount. I mean, she's extremely selfish, and trust me, that's a whole different story. I texted Nikki yesterday and I said I don't think it's fair for us to pay the partial amount, but she responded back by saying that it's fair because it's only $33, saying that we should all pitch in once again because Katie and I had our late fee waived. So am I the jerk here? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, in my opinion, I really don't think you would be the jerk for saying, no, I'm not going to pay for that, because your situation and Nikki's situation are totally different. You had your late fee waived because of an error on like the apartment complex's part, and not because you just forgot to pay the rent. Whereas Nikki's late to the game because she got the flu, which I totally have empathy for, but also it's like, dude, you need to pay your rent. You have to schedule around that, and it doesn't take that much to get online and just pay for it real quick. So no, I would never pay that late fee if I was in your shoes, because it not only sets up a really weird precedent, but it also doesn't remind your roommates that, yeah, they've got to pay on time, otherwise they're the ones that are going to have to deal with the penalties. So basically, if you're not paying late, then it really should not be your problem. Am I the jerk for refusing to share my location to my boyfriend during a company work trip? Because my boyfriend basically spells it out that he doesn't trust me and that he doesn't trust the male coworkers around me, despite the fact that literally nothing would happen. Because right now I'm really frustrated about this entire scenario and I just don't know what to do. Here's what's happening. Okay, so I've been with my boyfriend for about a year now. I've been working at my current company for almost 2 years, and most of the time things between us were okay, though sometimes he could be a little bit controlling. I tried to brush it off before because I thought maybe he was just worried about me, but lately it started to feel more stressful than caring. Last week, our company organized a trip for the whole team. It was supposed to be a short getaway where everyone could relax, bond, and just take a break from work. I was actually really excited about it because I rarely get time like that with my coworkers outside the office. When I told my boyfriend about the trip, he immediately started asking a lot of questions about who was going and where we would stay. Before the trip even started, he asked me to share my live location with him the entire time. He said he had trust issues with my coworkers, especially the male ones, and that it would make him feel better if he could see where I was the whole time. I honestly felt uncomfortable with that request because it sounded like he didn't really trust me at all, and I just told him that I wasn't okay with sharing my location like that. After I refused, he kept messaging me and asking again, saying I should do it if I really cared about his feelings. The constant messages started to annoy me, especially since I already was trying to enjoy the trip with my team. Eventually, I decided to just stop responding to him for the rest of the company trip because the conversation was really stressing me out. For the whole trip, I focused on spending time with my coworkers and just trying to relax. We had activities, group dinners, and a lot of moments where everyone was just laughing and enjoying themselves. But in the back of my mind, I kept thinking about how frustrated I felt that something that was supposed to be fun turned into an argument with my boyfriend, all because he couldn't trust me enough to let me go without tracking where I was. So am I the jerk for not texting him right away and for refusing to share my location? What should I do? In my opinion, I think your boyfriend was definitely crossing the line. Can I also just say that I think being forced to share your location with your significant other is really stupid? Doesn't that feel like almost a trend nowadays where it seems like, oh yeah, inherently I'm gonna not trust you right off the bat, so you absolutely have to share your location with me if you trust me. Why is it always a question of trust? That is super annoying. You would think after a year that trust would almost be instinctual, where you could say pretty confidently that yeah, they're not gonna cheat on me and I don't have to worry about this. But clearly not, because obviously people just don't trust each other. That is so stupid. Dude, I am not out there cheating. I'm going to a work event. I'm not going and clubbing or getting with anybody else. I'm literally just there to do my thing and then come home. It really seems like a trend nowadays that people are like, oh, we have to share our locations with each other. And it's like, dude, what are you talking about? Just give it a rest. Is it really that serious that you can't trust me enough to go on a work trip? Because that is really annoying in my opinion. The original poster's been with them for a year. I'm sure they're not going going out there saying, oh, I can't wait to find another guy. So yeah, this guy is kind of being controlling and definitely being a jerk by berating you left and right, saying, oh my god, wait, if you don't do this, you don't care about my feelings. Like, good lord, give it a rest, man, it's not that serious. So no, you're not the jerk, and I think your boyfriend is being a little obnoxious. Am I overreacting to the fact that my best friend literally didn't invite me or my husband to her birthday party and instead only wanted to invite people that could get her head socially? Because right now, after basically learning the truth, I feel like I'm at a crossroads with this friendship because I really don't know what to do here. Here's what's going on. For a bit of context, I live in the Hamptons where a lot of very wealthy people live. One of the moms in our circle, as well as myself, are from the same hometown out of state. And over the years, our families have become pretty close. Our kids are good friends and we spend a lot of birthdays, holidays, and family gatherings together. Her husband is extremely wealthy and very flashy about it. And on top of that, she has never worked. Despite that, she has always been personally very kind to me. She's done thoughtful things for my birthday and regularly invites our family to things. And she often says things like, oh, she considers me like family. Well, about 2 years ago, she had a big milestone birthday in New York City with around 50 people there. She initially invited me, but never followed up with any of the actual dates. We're talking nothing about like the dates for the event, the hotel, the schedule, like literally anything, and I just assumed plans were still being figured out. Then other friends started asking which hotel we were booking and if we were excited for the trip, and that's when I realized that something wasn't adding up. After talking with a few people, it became clear that my husband and I had not made the final cut. We weren't invited to the main event, a big birthday dinner at a Michelin star restaurant. Now at the time, I tried not to take it personally. They know a lot of people and host big social events, and her husband especially has a huge network, so I assumed it was probably his guest list and maybe things just got really tight. And just to be clear, money or travel wasn't the issue at all for us. Going to New York City and staying wherever the group was staying would not have been a problem. So I just let it go and I moved on. Fast forward to last week and she was venting to me about another mom in our circle who she had been trying to become closer friends with. And it was here that she said something that really caught me off guard. She said very casually, I invited her to my New York City birthday because I wanted to build a relationship with her. I thought giving her that kind of invitation would help, but it didn't work. And you know what? Hearing that completely changed how I saw the situation. It suddenly made me realize that someone she barely knew got the kind of invitation that I didn't, even though she often tells me that I'm like family and we've spent years doing things together. It also made me realize the decision might not have been about her husband's guest list like I had assumed. It sounded more like she intentionally invited certain people because of the relationships that she hoped to build socially. I didn't even know how to respond in the moment. And in fact, I just changed the subject because it felt awkward and honestly a little hurtful to hear. Now for context, over the years, I've done a lot for her and her kids and genuinely considered her a close friend. I mean, our husbands still socialize, our families still spend time together, and our kids are still close. But that comment really shifted something for me, and I just can't quite shake it, and I'm now questioning our friendship. So am I overthinking this, or would that also bother you too? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, in my opinion, this seems like one of those people who like pretend to be your friend until they realize that you have nothing to offer them. And then they move on to someone else because they're like, oh, but this person can help me get ahead. And it's like, bro, I can't stand people like that. You're not a real friend and I hate that. So honestly, if I was in your shoes, I would probably start distancing myself because this really is the truth of the scenario. She doesn't see you as a close friend or someone worth inviting to her own birthday party. And if your families are really as close as you're saying, then this kind of behavior is completely unacceptable and honestly, it's something I would never let go. My psycho neighbors literally have parties at all hours of the night, and despite the fact that I've talked to them and tried to complain about them, nothing ever seems to change. So I got some revenge by gassing their entire house with some fart spray in a fantastic act of revenge of getting them to quiet down and finally shut up. Here's how I did it. Years ago, I moved into a new apartment this summer after COVID lockdown started, so like maybe summer of 2020. The neighbors across from me, who were just a few feet away, were a quiet couple who I never heard making a noise unless they were coming in and out of their apartment and talking to each other. Well, a month or two later, that couple moved out and a new couple moved in. The girlfriend was a super loud talker who didn't understand the meaning of indoor voice. Her speaking voice was so loud that I could hear everything she was saying while I was in my bedroom with the door closed. Like, it was ridiculous. Everything about her was obnoxious. She had an annoying laugh, overly extroverted, always talked to people while on speakerphone, and was constantly using her Alexa for some of the most stupidest things. And her boyfriend was a typical dude frat bro type of guy who loved burping really loudly all the time like a 9-year-old. Well, since moving in, they hosted a bunch of parties in their apartment, and we're talking like every month or so on the weekends. This means that the COVID vaccine didn't exist yet for 9 more months, all while they kept throwing parties in the middle of this. Everyone was paranoid of catching it and getting critically sick or even passing away. But not this couple and their basic friends. They literally didn't care. And I even later learned that the girlfriend worked in medical sales, so that kind of tracked as well. Their parties would last from like 8 o'clock p.m. until 3 in the morning every single time. And of course I didn't get any sleep. I would lie in bed hearing bumping music, crowd chatter, and every single word the girlfriend said. Now, talking to them was unproductive, management was completely toothless, and one time this stupid couple came back from a night of drinking and returned with their friends and held a house party from 3 in the morning until 9 in the morning. And it's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, who does that? Well, at this point, I had had enough, and it's here that my revenge came into play. While one of their parties were raging, I came out and sprayed liquid butt under their apartment door and then went right back into my apartment. Then suddenly, for some weird reason, the loud chatter turned very quiet. It eventually became loud again, so I did it again. And just like clockwork, it got much quieter. I even started to hear some people leave, and they even loudly wondered if somebody had crapped themselves. The party eventually died out, and I enjoyed a quiet evening with no noise, because this was the final straw and I didn't want to deal with them any longer. Okay, dude, I love this because I've never thought about doing this. I've had crappy neighbors before where they just make all kinds of noise, but I've never even considered spraying fart spray of some kind just to get back at them. Like, I don't know about you, but if I was at a party and I started smelling like liquid butt all over the place, I would be the first person to be like, oh yeah, somebody crapped themselves. I am out of here. So yeah, this is some fantastic revenge. I love what you did, and I think this really was a good way to get them to shut up, because having a party from 3 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock in the morning is not only insane, but it's also incredibly inconsiderate. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My parents are incredibly controlling about pretty much every aspect of my life, and at this point I'm honestly frustrated and I just don't know what to do about this. Here's what's going on. I want to start off by saying that I'm a 30-year-old woman currently working towards my bachelor's in nursing. I love my parents and my 3 younger brothers very much, and I'm grateful that they've allowed me to stay at home rent-free while I finish school. But at the same time, I've been feeling increasingly overwhelmed and frustrated. My parents depend on me for many things, and it often feels like my boundaries are not respected at all. But regardless, I do try to contribute to the household. I help care for my special need brother. I take my mom to errands and doctor's appointments. I help with paperwork such as paying bills, printing documents, and translating things when needed. I don't go out partying or spend time on any kind of like substances or any other distractions. And most of my time is spent helping my family and studying. Lately, however, I feel like the majority of my time and energy is going towards my parents' needs, and it has started to affect my performance in school. I often have to stop studying or miss time for classes in order to help with errands or projects that come up unexpectedly. For example, I may be asked to spend hours running errands or helping with a task of some kind, even when I have schoolwork or meetings. I have tried talking to my parents about setting boundaries so I can focus on school, but my concerns are often dismissed. When I say that I need time for schoolwork, I'm sometimes told that the tasks only take like 10 minutes, even though they end up taking much longer. When I refuse because of school responsibilities, I'm sometimes threatened with being kicked out and told that I do nothing around the house despite the help that I provide. There have even been times recently when I missed appointments or classes because I couldn't leave the house. For example, in January and February, my dad parked in the middle of the driveway, preventing me from getting out. I can't even study in peace at the library or at school because my family always floods my phone with a call of, oh, when are you coming back? You need to come home already, it's late. Get home right now because I haven't seen you all day and I want to see your face. Then in October of last year, my dad said I'm not allowed to go to the gym anymore. I went anyways because I needed the exercise. Then when I came back, he told me that if something bad had happened, then God is going to punish you. And it's not going to be his problem because I'm disobeying my parents. At this point, I feel stuck and unsure of what to do. I love my family and I want to help them out, but I also need time and space to focus on my education and my responsibilities. I have even considered leaving and staying at a shelter, but I have lived a very sheltered life and that idea is frightening for me. I'm reaching out because I need advice and I need support on what options might be available to me, because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, in my opinion, I think it might be time to try to look into moving out or find something that you can do to make money and save up and leave. Because yeah, this doesn't sound like a good environment. At this rate, you might as well not even go to school because they will probably stop you from becoming a nurse in the first place. And that really sucks because I think you've got it right. You should be allowed to go to the gym or stay out late or do whatever you want. You're 30 years old and they don't own your life. Your dad can't tell you not to go to the gym. You don't have to help your mom out all the time. And you don't have to be there just because they haven't seen you all day. No, I don't think so. So if I was in your shoes, I would probably start that process sooner than later because I would not want to deal with this on a daily basis, especially moving forward with my life. Good Lord, give me a break. That sounds incredibly obnoxious and I definitely would not want to deal with that. Am I the jerk for taking back something that I loaned to a coworker who quite literally refused to return it? Because after the fact, she tried to make it sound like I demanded my property back and that I made her uncomfortable, even though she refused to give it back to me for over a month, which has kind of put me in a weird position at work because right now I don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. So about 2 months ago, a coworker of mine asked if she could borrow my portable power station. We had a big storm predicted in the area, and she said her apartment loses power pretty easily. I felt bad and I told her that she could borrow it for the weekend. Well, the storm passed and everything was fine, but she never brought it back. At first, I assumed that she maybe forgot or something like that. So I casually reminded her at work the next week, and she said she'd bring it in the next day. Well, she didn't. Then over the next few weeks, I asked her a few more times, and each time there was always some excuse. Maybe she forgot it at home, or she was busy, or she said she'd bring it tomorrow, etc. After about a month of this, I started getting a little frustrated. It wasn't cheap, and I only lent it to her because she said she needed it temporarily. But last week, I found out from another coworker that she had actually taken it on a camping trip and had been using it regularly. And that really annoyed me because it felt like she had no intention of returning it. Yesterday, I stopped by her desk and I asked for it again, and she said that she'd try to remember. Well, I then told her that I could just stop by her place after work and pick it up so that she didn't have to worry about bringing it back. She then reluctantly gave me her address, and when I got there, she tried to say that she was still using it and asked if she could just keep it for another week. But at that point, I just said I really needed it back, and I just took it with me. Well, today at work, she told a few people that I showed up at her house and demanded my property back, and that it made her uncomfortable. A couple coworkers say that I should have just waited a little longer to avoid making things awkward. But from my perspective, I already waited a month, and I asked several times. So now I'm kind of wondering, am I the jerk for going to get my own property back after she kept putting off returning it? Because right now I really just don't know what to do. Okay, this is honestly ridiculous. There's no reason for her to act like that. First off, no, you're not the jerk for getting your property back. She clearly was taking advantage of you. She was constantly making up excuses and being like, oh, I'll bring it in next week, only to then conveniently forget or some other excuse. And even when you showed up to her house, she was like, oh, I need it for just one more week. Please don't take it. Bro, give me my property back. Holy crap, get your own if you want it so bad. So no, you're not the jerk. This is so stupid. This literally is so selfish, it's not even funny. And I know if I was in your shoes, I would also be very pissed off. Am I the jerk for refusing to hand over the car my mom left me in her will, even though my older brother says that he needs it more? Because right now I'm very pissed off and I refuse to give in. And at this point, I don't know if I'm in the wrong. Here's what's happening. Okay, for a bit of context, my mom passed away about 8 months ago, and I'm still not okay about this, but that's also not the point of this post. She left me her car in her will, specifically me. She literally wrote my name down, and she had a reason for it. When I was in college, she promised me that when the time came, she would make sure that I had reliable transportation because I had been taking the bus for years, and she hated that I was getting home at midnight from work simply because of the route schedule. She told me this multiple times, and she put it in writing. The car, by the way, isn't brand new or anything like that, but it's in great shape, it's got low mileage, and it's fully paid off. So for someone in my position, it is life-changing. I don't have a car payment. I can get to work in 20 minutes instead of an hour and a half. I can live my life without planning everything around a bus schedule. In contrast, my older brother got the house. The house with equity and savings, and the furniture and literally everything in it, meaning that he was very generously taken care of. But apparently that's not enough because last month, he came to me and said that he thinks it's only fair that I give him the car or sell it and split the money. He said that his truck has been having problems and that fixing it is expensive, and since mom left him the house, the least I could do is help him out with the transportation. And it's the least I could do with the one thing mom specifically left for me that she promised me years ago that she put in a legal document document? Well, as you can probably guess, I said no. I told him mom left it to me on purpose and I wasn't giving it up. He then said that I was being selfish and that mom would be sick if she saw me hoarding something when family needed help. And that's the part that really sent me over the edge. Don't you dare tell me what mom would think. She told me what she thought. She wrote it down. She signed it. She made it legal. And you know what? He got the house, like the house itself. And he's now seriously standing in my apartment telling me that I'm greedy for keeping the car. He's been calling other family members, and now I've got aunts and uncles texting me saying that I should consider helping him out because he's struggling and family takes care of each other. And sure, family takes care of each other, but nobody was checking on me when I was riding the bus home at midnight for 3 years. Nobody offered me rides or helped me with a down payment on a car. Literally, my mom was the only one who ever cared about that, and she handled it the only way that she could. So no, I'm not giving the car. I don't care who he calls. I don't care who he texts. She left it to me, and that's honestly the end of it. Okay, good for you for standing on business. Your brother is so selfish. This guy got the house, the savings, the equity, and he's trying to be like, you need to take care of me. Mom would be really sick to her stomach if you didn't hand over that car. Like, no, she wouldn't. She would be like, oh, good, you have the car. Don't give it up. It's yours to use as you please. You really need it. Like, this guy's an idiot for trying to be like, wow, you really need to help family out. Meanwhile, no one was helping you out. Like, literally, no one in your family was helping out when you were struggling. So for anyone to be like, wow, you really need to help your brother out. Like, that is so backwards because this guy got everything out of this scenario. So no, you're not the jerk. Your brother is selfish, and honestly, so is the rest of your family because they've got their priorities mixed up if they think you're the one with the problem here. Am I the jerk for telling my parents that I'm not coming home for the holidays because they keep making me babysit every time I show up? Here's what's happening. To start things out, I'm the oldest in my family. I'm 24 years old and I moved out like 2 years ago for work. My parents still live in my hometown with my younger siblings and a bunch of little cousins that always show up during the holidays. Every time there's a big family thing like Christmas or New Year's, I go home to visit. Well, at least I used to. The problem is, every single time I go home, I somehow end up being the free babysitter. Like the moment I walk in the door, my mom will say stuff like, hey, can you watch the kids for a bit? And a bit turns into hours at a time. Last Christmas, I barely even got to sit down and eat. I was chasing toddlers around, helping them in the bathroom, stopping them from breaking stuff. Meanwhile, all the other adults were just chilling, eating, and talking and drinking. At one point, I asked my aunt if she could watch her own kid for a bit because I wanted to sit down. And she just laughed and said, you're young, you have the energy. And I was honestly kind of annoyed, but I just let it go. Then during New Year's, it happened again, the exact same thing. The second the kids start running around, everybody looks at me like I'm the daycare worker. I tried saying that I wanted to relax too, but my mom said something like, oh, come on, you're the oldest, you need to help the family out. Well, after that, I told them that on the next holiday, I'm probably just staying in my city and celebrating with my friends. My mom then got really upset and said that family time is important and that I'm being really selfish. Meanwhile, my dad said that it's not a big deal and that I need to just watch the kids for a few hours. But it's never just a few hours. It's basically the whole night every single time. And now my mom keeps texting me saying that the family will be disappointed if I don't come home this year. I love my family, but I also don't want to spend every holiday running after kids while everyone else relaxes. So yeah, now I'm kind of wondering if I'm being dramatic about this because I am very pissed off and I don't know what to do. Okay, I gotta be honest, if I was expected to babysit every time I come home, I would also not want to be there. I would be like, dude, I'd rather stay at home and not deal with these kids all the time. And it's not like you don't love the kids, like of course you love them, but I'm willing to bet you probably don't want to babysit them the entire time you're there. Like that sounds obnoxious. It also was really weird to me that they're trying to be like, oh, come on, you're the oldest, you need to step up. But it's like, dude, why not step up and take care of, oh, I don't know, your own kids? Why am I responsible for taking care of them? Like, what are we talking about right now? I hate when families do this. They find the youngest adult and they're like, okay, it's your turn. Now you're the one that gets to watch these kids and we're gonna sit over here and drink and have fun. Like, no, I'm not doing that. That's obnoxious and I hate that. So yeah, I find this whole scenario very weird and honestly very unfair for you because I just don't think you should have to deal with this regardless of what any of them say. My boyfriend asked to go through my phone as he is seriously convinced that I'm cheating on him. But after I said no, he literally freaked out, putting me in a situation where I really just don't know what to make of this. Here's what's happening. Okay, so my boyfriend recently asked to go through my phone after I displayed what he calls suspicious behavior. This behavior is essentially just me going to a friend's house once a week to hang out with her and her boyfriend, and sometimes some other coworkers or friends. He has my location, I'm always open about where I'm at and who I'm with, and I text him consistently along along with sending him photos when I'm out. I guess his final straw for wanting to go through my phone was the fact that I have some bruises on my thigh and my butt. He said they looked like a trail of fingerprints, but I don't agree. I get bruises literally all the time just from existing, commonly on my thighs and my butt. He's never brought them up before, but suddenly he is suspicious. So he asked to go through my phone when I came home after the gym the other day. Keep in mind, this gym is a part of our amenities in our apartment, and I always invite him to come with me, so it's not like I'm on the other side of town screwing some trainer. He said that I've been acting suspicious by spending more time with friends or just alone, and that my sudden change in habits was off. The habits being me going to the gym and eating healthier, which are both part of my New Year's resolutions, by the way. He also said that the bruises were suspicious and looked like fingerprints. I have one huge bruise on my thigh and two little ones next to it, as well as two small bruises right next to each other on my left butt cheek. They don't even remotely look like handprints or anything caused by doing the dirty, if you know what I mean. When he asked, I will be honest, I straight up laughed and I said no. When we first moved in together, I found some pretty suspicious evidence that he had cheated, or at least was keeping secrets from me, and even then, I never went through his phone. I've had an ex go through my phone, I've had them call me ugly, accuse me of cheating, and even made fun of my sick mother. So I'm very against going through phones in and of itself, especially since I believe that even if your partner is completely loyal, you'll still find something that will make you sick. It just seems pointless to me at the moment. I tried to explain my reasoning, but it only made him believe I was cheating even more. I have nothing to hide on my phone. I'm not seeing anybody. Like, I'm not even sneaky, but I feel like it's a fair boundary to have. I don't go through his, so why in the world would I have to let him go through mine? So am I being unreasonable here? I'm struggling to even take this situation seriously because I know for a fact I'm not cheating, and he seems so adamant that I am, all the while having potentially cheated on me in the past. What should I do? Okay, a really important detail that I missed initially going through this is that the boyfriend in this story is over 12 years older than the original poster. And holy crap, that just screams sketchy in my opinion. This guy is super controlling. He's trying to be like, wait, you're cheating on me. Meanwhile, you're sitting on evidence that he cheated on you. Like, dude, what are you doing? If you know this guy cheated on you, why would you stick with him? So seriously, I really don't think this is a good fit for you. I think you can do way better than this guy. And the fact that he's acting like this is incredibly sketchy. And I know for a fact if I was in your shoes, I would probably be getting out of this relationship and going with literally anybody else. Am I the jerk for not wanting to cook dinner anymore? Simply because my boyfriend's parents, who we live with, as well as all of the nieces and nephews that come over every night, are constantly cleaning out my fridge, putting me in a situation where I literally can't even feed my own kids. Here's what's happening. Okay, for a bit of context and just some backstory, me and my boyfriend and our 10-year-old daughter and 6-month-old son all live with my boyfriend's parents. Our history is kind of complicated. We dated a bit a few years ago, but in late 2024, we decided to really give it a shot this time around and try to be together. At the time, we only had our daughter, and shortly after getting back together, I get pregnant. His parents also let us move in with them rent-free so that we could save up for our own place. Well, when I was about 5 months pregnant, I lost my job. Then he loses his job a few months later, so getting our own place got pushed back. We get food stamps, and we're both working again eventually, and are currently looking for a place. So before anyone says, well, why don't you guys just move out? Listen, we are actively trying to do that right now. Anyways, my boyfriend's mom picks up her other grandkids from school Monday through Friday. There are 2 15-year-old boys, an 11-year-old, and a 2-year-old who she picks up from her other grandma's house as well. She usually makes dinner pretty much every day, Monday through Friday, for everybody, including the kids' parents, so that's like 6 extra people who are eating with us. When I get my food stamps, I buy snacks and drinks with the kids in mind. We're talking stuff like a big bag of chips, like 40 packs of juice, some cookies, fruit, etc. All I ask is that my daughter get her fair share of everything that I buy, which doesn't always happen. They'll open up a bag of chips and finish it in one sitting without even offering my daughter any, and it's like, okay, whatever. I know they're just hungry after school. Or when I buy beef or chicken, my boyfriend's mother will use it to make dinner. When I do make dinner when they come over, I have to buy double of what I would usually buy. We used to always have leftovers for the next night before they started coming over, so before, 1 pound of ground beef would last like 2 days, but now 2 pounds of ground beef only last a night. I talked to my boyfriend about this, and I told him that I'm stressed about food. I just started work last week, so at the time when I brought this up, we only had his income to live off of. Well, when I said this, he got kind of defensive, and we had an argument about it, but said that he would talk to his mom about it. He spoke to her in Spanish, and I don't speak Spanish, so I didn't understand everything that he told her, but it sounded like he went about it the wrong way, because she ended up getting upset and yelling in English. She basically shouted that whatever's in the fridge is for everyone, and she must have told her other son what was said, because they all started treating me different after that. When my boyfriend's niece would ask for something in the fridge that I bought, I always say yes, but her dad would like make a comment and say, oh, she says yes, but you know she doesn't really want to share. So now I feel like everyone thinks I'm a greedy jerk just because I'm worried about having enough food to feed my kids every month. So I need to ask, like, am I the jerk? How should I handle this? I feel so awkward around them every time they come around, and they come around like 5 or sometimes 6 days a week. What should I do? Okay, honestly, I think your boyfriend needs to step up and defend you here, because this is some crazy talk. It really seems like he talked to his mom about this and tried to be like, oh yeah, my girlfriend is really not happy about this. Can you fix this because she's not happy? Instead of being like, hey, we both feel this way and you need to stop. You're eating all of our kids' food, cut it out. Like, this really could have been like a very easy conversation of like, oh, I totally understand, sorry about that. But instead they're making this into a bigger deal than it needs to be. And it's only like that because they're getting called out, not because they feel bad about it, or because they have any desire to change. They clearly enjoy taking advantage of you, and that is just so disgusting in my opinion. So no, you're not the jerk for saying something, and honestly, I really hope you're able to get out of there sooner than later, because these people are toxic and I would never want to deal with that. My toxic best friend is literally trying to sabotage my relationship with another coworker, as she is actively making up rumors about my girlfriend in a way that would try to make her look bad and ruin my relationship. And even though I've cut this person off and I've decided that I don't want to be friends with her anymore, I'm now starting to feel guilty and wonder if I maybe took things just a bit too far, because at this point, I seriously just don't know what to do anymore. Here's how it all started. I'm a 25-year-old male, and I've been close with my friend, who I will call Sarah, for about 2 years now. We work at the same company, and honestly, she was the person who helped me survive my first year here. We've always been super tight, the kind of friends who grab drinks after a shift and vent about everything. I've always felt like I could be 100% open with her, which is very rare for me. Well, the vibe shifted about 3 months ago when I started seeing someone who I will call Rachel. Rachel doesn't work in our department, but she's in the same building, so we all just kind of end up in the same break room or at the same happy hours. As soon as I told Sarah I was serious about Rachel, the fake humor started. At first it was subtle. Sarah would make comments about Rachel's outfits or her annoying laugh. But then it got weirder. In front of our other coworkers, Sarah started spreading rumors about Rachel. Basically, she would just start making up stories or exaggerating things to try and make Rachel look incompetent or high maintenance. She would say things like, oh, I heard Rachel almost blew that presentation last week, followed up by her saying, oh, just kidding. But seriously, you should probably pick someone more on your level. She's way too much drama for you. Now, the problem is, Rachel is actually super chill and hasn't done anything to her. Well, last week it finally peaked. We were at a group lunch and Sarah started joking about how Rachel is only dating me to get closer to a promotion in my department. It was really awkward, nobody laughed, and Rachel looked visibly upset. When I pulled Sarah aside later to tell her to knock it off, she got super defensive. She told me she's just looking out for me because she knows me better than anyone and that I'm being blinded by a pretty face. I then asked her straight up if she had feelings for me, and she laughed in my face and called me egotistical and said, well, I just hate seeing you settle for trash. But honestly, I've had enough. The workplace is becoming toxic because Sarah is now giving me the cold shoulder, as well as telling our mutual work friends that I'm choosing a girl that I just met over a loyal friend. And with that, I decided to officially cut her off. I stopped sitting with her at lunch and I only really talked to her about work-related things, not to mention the fact that I blocked her on everything else. But now some of our coworkers are saying that I'm being too harsh and that I'm throwing away a real friendship over a girl I've only known for a few months. They think I should just ignore her quirks because she's been there for me in the past. But I just feel like I'm protecting my relationship and my peace of mind. But even then, the guilt is starting to creep in because we were so close. So seriously, am I the jerk in this situation? Like, am I out of line for blocking Sarah? Because right now I don't know what else to do. Okay, you are definitely not the jerk. She is clearly jealous of the fact that you're dating Rachel instead of her. I don't care what anybody says. Sarah absolutely had a thing for you, and now that you're showing interest in another woman, she is freaking out. She's doing anything she can to make Rachel look bad, to try and tear her down in front of her face, and literally just ruin this relationship for you as some kind of way of getting like secret jealous revenge against you for picking Rachel over her. And I only say that because this is something I've seen personally firsthand, like in real time, and what you're describing is almost exactly like what I personally saw. Like, it's almost uncanny to an extent, except for the fact that you actually block Sarah instead of just accepting her quirks, which other people want you to do. Like, that is really dumb. I would never do that in a million years. And neither should you if you ask me. So no, I would block her as well. I would cut her completely out of my life, like right then and there. Because if she really was a friend, then she would be encouraging me and like try to become friends with Rachel. And since she's doing the opposite of that, it kind of leads me to believe that she did have a crush on you, and she's now pissed off that you went after Rachel instead of her. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for breaking up with my fiance without really telling him why, after I caught him in the act of cheating on me at a restaurant with another woman? Because right now it feels like my entire life has fallen apart, as I'm now on the cusp of literally canceling wedding plans and realizing that my life with him is essentially coming to a close. And at this point, I don't know what to do. Here's how it all started. To start things out, I had a fiance who I will call Andrew for the sake of the story. And from the very beginning, our relationship felt steady and intentional, not rushed or dramatic. Just two people choosing each other every day. We met through mutual friends, and we started as late night chats and long walks home, and slowly built routines that made us feel like a team. By our third year together, we were engaged. We were proud of how we handled money, careers, and plans like adults who wanted something lasting and not just romantic. We decided to marry on our 5th anniversary so we could save properly and avoid starting our marriage in debt. So we made spreadsheets for expenses, talked about where we would live, and even joked about what our weekends would look like as a married couple. Every overtime shift he mentioned sounded like another step toward that shared future, and I trusted him because he had always been consistent before. But the changes came quietly. He stopped picking me up after work, saying he had to come in early or stay late for extra income. Our weekends became sideline work, or him saying he's too tired, and our conversations shrank into quick updates instead of like real time together. I really missed him, but I kept telling myself this was temporary, and that this was what commitment looked like when two people were working towards something bigger. Well, one Friday, my coworker invited me to dinner after work. I messaged him out of habit, asking if he could pick me up so we could go together, and he said he had overtime again. Now, I agreed, still trusting him, until he walked into the restaurant and I saw him sitting across from another girl, leaning toward her the way that he used to lean towards me. I didn't confront him there. I asked my coworker if we could go somewhere else, pretending I suddenly didn't like the place. When I got home, I looked at our wedding plans and I realized I was the only one still living in them. I sent a short message saying that we're done, I blocked him, and then I sat in the quiet knowing that losing the relationship hurt less than staying in a future that he had already left. Up until now, he didn't show up and question me why, because I think he knows already. So am I the jerk for not telling him the reason why we broke up? Because right now, I really don't know what to do with my life. Okay, first off, I just want to say this is terrible. Andrew is a piece of garbage. This guy literally threw away his future for some other idiot. And that really sucks, but I think there is a silver lining here. You at least see that, yeah, you know what? I would rather leave now than find out later that he's cheating on me when I already, tie the knot. Can you imagine the kind of headache you would go through trying to get away from this guy? Because yeah, weddings are great, but holy crap, getting divorced is awful. Sure, sometimes it can be for good reasons, but most times it's basically because something went wrong and both of these people need to get away from each other. So at least that's a silver lining. At least you know now that this guy's a cheating piece of garbage and you can try to rebuild your life from here. Because at the end of the day, you don't owe this guy any explanation, because you already got the closure you need when you blocked him after you saw him actively cheating on you, which is awful, and I'm so sorry you're going through that. Am I the jerk for choosing not to change my lifestyle just to accommodate my neighbors who claim I'm making way too much noise? Because after a recent confrontation they had with me and my husband, I decided that I'm just not going to help them out at all, and I don't know if I'm making a mistake. Here's what's going on. Okay, you really need to strap in for this one because this is kind of a long one and it gets a little bit weird. A few months ago, my fiance and I bought our first apartment. It took years of saving and 6 months of renovation, but we finally managed to move in at the end of January. I've recently been laid off for economic reasons, and to top it off, I have trouble relaxing and just being lazy around during the day. If the sun is out, I feel the need to go do stuff. Well, as a consequence of that, my only real time to relax is at night, when I do not feel any internal pressure to be active. You might imagine that as an unemployed night owl, my bedtime is a little bit dephased with the rest of society, and it is not rare for me to go to bed at 5 o'clock in the morning. When renovating the kitchen and living area, we realized that the concrete slab rigidifying my hardwood floor had been damaged by an old downstairs neighbor to attach their ceiling fan directly into my floor beams. This means that there's basically no acoustic insulation between the two floors, and the lack of rigidity due to the slab being broken creates a lot of vibrations. So when we moved in, my downstairs neighbors quickly came to tell us that the noise from the floor vibrating was a big issue for them. And so we started walking carefully around the house during the evening. One night, I was about to go to bed at 4:30 in the morning when the neighbors come by and tell me that my moving around is basically ruining her life. She can't sleep, she's getting psychological issues just because I move around at night. Now, of course I say sorry, and I actually get a call from their landlord the next day asking me to go and try to appease the situation. Obviously, I genuinely feel sorry. So I go to see her and I say that I do empathize, that I will make efforts to be as silent as possible, but that I can't change my entire lifestyle to suit her sleeping schedule. A few days later, her husband comes back from a trip and, having heard his wife cry repeatedly on the phone, all because of sleep deprivation, he comes to my door to confront me. And at the time, it was about 10 o'clock p.m. This guy then tells me that I'm a savage making way too much noise. But when I tell him I'm already walking as silently as I can, like literally on my toes, he straight up calls me a liar. I then decide to close the door to put an end to this stupid discussion, but he actually blocks the door with his foot and tries to force his way in. Things start to heat up and my fiance separates us, and then he's shouting at us for like another 30 minutes in the hallway. But you know what? I went to the police the next day just to record the incident. The only way we managed to cool things down was to promise that I would go to bed at 11 o'clock p.m., which I'm obviously not going to do, especially for someone who tried to invade my house. Now, I understand her plight and I really empathize, but I'm in my home and I won't self-impose some kind of curfew. So am I the jerk here? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, honestly, if I was in your shoes, I would be talking to like building management and going over all the damage you discovered on your floor from the people below you. Like seriously, if there's no acoustic insulation between the two floors, then how is this your problem, especially if you just came into the apartment? Like, I'm not kidding, this really does sound like a them problem and not a you problem. So that's personally what I would do. I would go to them immediately and be like, dude, something is wrong with the floor, they screwed with it, and they need to fix it. Because holy crap, there's no reason you should be walking around on eggshells in an apartment. And trust me, I get it. There's noise all the time in those kind of buildings. There's not much you can do about it, and it is what it is. But even walking around is causing them to be like, I can't sleep. I can't stand it. Like, no, I think you're being a little melodramatic, and it's probably not that bad. So no, I don't think you're the jerk. I think your neighbors are just complete weirdos, and this is probably going to be a thing until they fix their mistake. Because you literally just bought the apartment, and this absolutely is not your fault. Am I the jerk for offering to pay for my friend and his wife to get a babysitter just so they could finally hang out with the group again for the first time in a while? But now, as a result of me saying that, I think I really offended them by accident. And at this point, I don't know how to fix this. Here's what's going on. Okay, I want to just say at the top of this that at face value, this sounds ridiculous. But I think what happened is they felt financially insulted. Like they felt I was looking down on them or something like that. I have a close friend who I will call Rob for the sake of the story. I've known him since freshman year of high school. I was in his wedding party. I'm close with his parents, and he is essentially my brother from another mother. I love the guy immensely. His wife, who I'll call Katie, is also a sweetheart. She can be anxious and stresses easily depending on the situation, but she loves Rob immensely, and I know she treats him right. So in my book, she's a good woman. Genuinely, no ill feelings towards her. Rob and Katie have 2 kids, 2 girls to be specific. They've disappeared from the social circle for a bit, and I know it's likely because money is tight and they're exhausted. After putting out an invite to a hangout at a restaurant with our social circles, Rob gave his typical "we'll see, no promises." So in response, I said, well, if it would help out, I'd be willing to Venmo you money for a babysitter for the girls. That way you and Katie have less to worry about. Katie apparently got really upset when she saw this, as she is in the same group chat, and I only found out about her being upset when Rob messaged me. And I really think I embarrassed them when I genuinely wasn't trying to be a jerk. And this is where I know I'm wrong. I made an assumption. I mean, I had no business suggesting money was the issue, and I think that's where this came from. I also should not have asked him that question in a group chat with all of our friends. I should have just direct messaged him. I sent Katie and Rob an apology message, and I told them straight up, I never meant to cross a boundary or insult you or embarrass you. I just miss having you in my life. Please don't let one mistake on my part ruin our friendship. I'm genuinely sorry. I haven't heard back yet, but I'm hoping Rob can get her to understand I didn't mean anything by it, and that I genuinely wasn't trying to alienate them. I'm the kind of guy who will sometimes talk or jump on a topic without thinking, and I feel like this was one of those times. So am I the jerk here? Because I really just don't know what to do. Okay, yeah, the original poster is definitely the jerk. It is incredibly rude to be like, oh, you can't afford to go out? Let me give you some money. He says in the group chat, like, dude, what are you doing? If someone says they can't do something, then guess what? That's the end of it. I understand that you try to reach out and be like, no, come on, like I want to convince you to come and hang out. But they have kids, like their entire situation is way different than yours. They have 2 little girls that they're taking care of. The days of them just dropping what they're doing and going to hang out are far gone. So for you to be like, oh, I'll
I'll give you money, because clearly money's the issue.
Or at least implying that is just really over the line. So yeah, I do think you're the jerk, but from the sounds of it, it kind of seems like this is unintentional. So hopefully Katie and Rob will forgive you sooner than later. Am I the jerk for refusing to associate with people who treated me badly when I was overweight? Because now that I'm in like a little bit better shape and kind of fit, I'm starting to see these people for what they really are. And I'm seriously so pissed off at them that I just don't know what to do about this. Here's what's happening. Okay, so as you can probably tell, I used to be overweight, and in the last few years, I've lost it and I'm now fit. But during that time I was overweight, there were people in my life or at work who would demean me for it. Those same people are now suddenly friendly and kind towards me, and while I'm not exactly chewing them out or telling them off, I'm also not exactly being friendly back. One person came up to me today for giving them the cold shoulder and even guessed before I could say anything that it was about them insulting me for being overweight. And you know what? I confirmed it. They then proceeded to go back on this tangent about how I didn't respect myself when I was overweight, so they weren't going to show respect back, which sounds like such a cheesy cop-out line. I told them that if they were going to disrespect me for such superficial reasons, then they aren't the kind of person I want to associate with. They then shook their head and said I was overly sensitive and immature for holding a grudge. So truly, am I the jerk for holding a grudge and still being angry and cold towards people who hurt me? Because right now I'm honestly not sure what to think of this. Okay, I hate this so much, so no, you are not the jerk. There is no reason for you to treat someone differently just because of their weight. But guess what? It happens all the time. I've seen it firsthand where it's like, oh yeah, because this person is like obese or overweight or even just a little bit chubby, they're treated with more aggression and like almost hostility as opposed to someone who's fit and more in shape. And it's like, bro, there are probably so many things that are going into that person's weight, it's not even funny. There could be a medication that's causing them to gain weight. There could be like, I don't know, depression going on. There could be a lot of different things going on besides just being lazy. So I personally can't stand people who act like that, who are like, oh wow, that person's fat. They don't respect themselves, so I'm not gonna respect them. But it's like, okay, cool, two can play that game, bro. I don't have to be nice to you just because suddenly I'm fit and you're trying to like, I don't know, win my favor or some crap like that. So to the original poster, no, you're not the jerk. You are giving them a taste of their own medicine, and based on what you're describing, I think it's completely deserved. Am I the jerk for telling my coworker that I won't proofread any of her work anymore after she literally threw me under the bus and blamed me when something she submitted came back wrong? Because right now I am still very pissed off about this. Here's what happened. Okay, for some context, I work in a mid-sized communications team. My coworker and I, who I will call Brittany, have always had a decent working relationship where it's not really been anything close, but it's been very professionally friendly. About 6 months ago, she started occasionally asking me to look over her work before she sent them up because she said she trusted my eye for detail. And you know what? I said sure, like I'm happy to help out. It was informal, not really part of my job, but it was just a colleague helping another one out. I'd spend maybe like 10 or 20 minutes on something, leave track changes and comments, and then send it right back. And this worked really fine for a few months. Then about 6 weeks ago, she sent me a project brief to review. I went through it carefully. I rewrote like 2 sections that had factual inconsistencies. I flagged a statistic that I was pretty sure was outdated, and then I sent it back with notes. Well, the next day she submitted it to our director without accepting any of my changes or even addressing a single comment. And I only found out because our director forwarded it back to the whole team, asking for corrections on exactly the 2 sections that I had flagged. In that same email thread, Brittany replied and said the draft had been reviewed and that she wasn't sure how those errors made it through. Now, I waited until we were alone and I asked her directly about it, and she said she had been in a hurry and must have sent the wrong version, which I might have just taken as the truth, except she also said, well, I did think your edits were a bit overcautious, to be completely honest. Which totally exposed the fact that yeah, she did see them. She just chose not to use them and then let the implication sit that the review had happened and then passed. I then told her calmly that I wouldn't be reviewing her work going forward, and she seemed genuinely surprised, which surprised me. So honestly, am I the jerk for pulling back entirely instead of just talking to her about it more? What's the best way to handle this? Okay, in my opinion, this is something that will only happen once to me, bro. If you're gonna throw me under the bus, you better make it count because I will never help you ever again if you do that to me. Seriously, this is unbelievably unprofessional. She literally lied to your face and said, oh, I must have sent the wrong one, and then exposed herself by saying, oh, I just didn't think to add those. Oops, sorry about that. Like, bro, you made me look bad as a result of that, and now everybody's gotta look it over because of your stupid decision. If you'd just done what I told you to do, none of this would have happened. So no, you're not the jerk, dude. dude, this lady is completely out of her mind if she thinks you should help her out anymore. Because if she can do this once, then she can absolutely do this again. Am I the jerk for not attending my cousin's wedding? All because she didn't invite my partner of 3 years, but invited literally everyone else's plus ones. Because right now I'm not only confused, but also pissed off. And no one seems to be answering the question about why my partner is not being allowed to come along. Here's how it all happened. Okay, for some information to get things started, my cousin's getting married in the spring. When the invitations went out, I noticed mine had only my name on it. No plus one, no mention of my partner of 3 years, who has, by the way, met basically my entire family at this point, been to multiple family events, and by any reasonable measure is just part of my life in a way that should be acknowledged. Every other couple in the family got invited together. Married couples, obviously, but also people who have been dating for less time than us. People whose partners have met the family maybe twice in total. I waited a few days thinking maybe there was a mistake. Then I reached out to my cousin privately and asked if my partner was invited, and she said no. She kept it vague and gave no real explanation, and just moved on like that was a completely normal thing to say. I thought about it for a week and I talked to my parents about it, and then I told my cousin that I would not be able to attend. I wasn't angry about it, I wasn't dramatic, I just said that I wouldn't be there. But now my family's involved. My aunt called me, my mom is getting messages. Apparently I'm ruining the wedding by not attending, and I should just come alone and be happy for my cousin and not make it about my relationship. But guess what? It is about my relationship. My partner is my family now. Treating them as less than everyone else's partner with no explanation is not something I can just smile through. So am I the jerk for declining? Because I'm still very hurt by this. Okay, it's kind of obvious that your cousin just doesn't like your partner at all. That really seems to be what's going on here, and that is super unfair for you. I know if I was in your shoes, I would feel the exact same way, especially when everybody else has their partner coming along with them. I would be asking so many questions if this was me. I'd be like, okay, why am I being singled out? Why is my partner specifically being singled out of everyone else? I would absolutely demand a reason, otherwise I wouldn't show up either. So no, you're not the jerk for not attending. I think I would probably do the exact same thing. My toxic best friend got kicked out of my house after she looked me in the eye during a dinner party and said that my husband was a charity case that I was bankrolling, saying that I deserved better than him and that he clearly wasn't good enough for me, which, if I'm being completely honest, made my blood boil and forced me to shut her down right then and there. Here's what happened. Okay, so I hosted a small dinner party last night for 5 of my closest friends. My husband, who I will call Danny, is honestly the hardest working person that I know. He is currently a teacher, but he's also finishing his master's in education leadership because he wants to eventually become a principal. Between his actual job and his night classes, he is exhausted, but he still manages to do half the chores and never misses a chance to make me feel loved. The issue, according to some people, is that I work in tech and make about triple what he does. It has never been an issue for us. I mean, we are literally a team. During dinner, Danny was being his usual self, helping me serve the food, making everybody laugh, and being a great host. But then about halfway through the night, he apologized and said that he had to go to our home office to finish a major paper that was due at midnight, and everyone was supportive of this except for my friend, who we will call May. For a bit of background, May has been my friend since college. She's always been a bit of a status seeker, and once Danny left the room, May took a long sip of her wine and said she didn't know how I did it. She told the table that she would be bored if her man had to go study for a teacher's salary while she paid for the steak everyone was eating. Well, after that comment, the table went dead silent. I told her that Danny works incredibly hard, and his career is about making an impact, not just a paycheck. May then rolled her eyes and told me to come on, because apparently we're all friends here. She said, "You're 29 years old and you're successful. You're basically carrying him. You're in the prime of your life and you should be with someone who can actually match your bracket. You shouldn't be with someone you have to bankroll like a charity project. You deserve a power couple life, not a stressed out student life." And when she said this, I felt my blood boil. I did not yell, but I told her very clearly that she was being incredibly disrespectful to the both of us. I told her that Danny is the most supportive partner I've ever had, and his goals involve more than just a bank balance. She tried to laugh it off and said that she was just looking out for me because money's the #1 cause of divorce. But honestly, at that point, I had had enough. I stood up, I took her plate, and I told her that she needed to leave. When I said this, she looked shocked and said I was being dramatic over a little honesty. My other friends were awkward and didn't really say anything, but May kept going, saying I was choosing a mediocre man over a decade of friendship. I then walked her to the door and I shut it right behind her. Ever since then, friend May has been texting our group chat saying that I've changed and that she's worried I'm defensive because I know that she's right. A couple of my friends messaged me privately saying that while May was out of line, kicking her out was extreme and made the whole night a disaster for everyone else. Now, I don't think I'm the jerk for defending my husband in my own home, but the extreme comments from my other friends are starting to get to me. So, am I the jerk for booting her out and potentially ending the friendship over this? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, I've got to be completely honest with you. I think May is completely out of line and she deserved to get shut down. Seriously, who's gonna walk into someone else's house and be like, wow, your husband is an absolute charity case. You should be living the power couple life, not bankrolling this loser. Which, by the way, is basically what she was saying without saying it. Like, this is some crazy behavior that absolutely is not okay in my book. So in my opinion, you did the right thing. You stood up for your husband, you said, no, you're not gonna talk to him like that, and you defended his good name. Like, he does sound like a really hardworking guy. So for May to chime in and be like, wow, you deserve better. It's like, bro, who are you to talk about my husband like that? So no, you're not the jerk, and anybody saying that, oh yeah, you were just a little too harsh, that made things really awkward. Honestly, the only person that made things awkward was May, and in my opinion, she deserved to get shut down. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My boyfriend is obsessed with his best friend, to such an extent that I think he would choose his best friend over me if he had the choice. But after I had an altercation with his best friend, my boyfriend finally snapped at me, saying that he should have never given me a chance. And at this point, I really think I lost my relationship and I just don't know what to do. Here's how it all went down. I'm a 21-year-old female and I've been dating my boyfriend for almost 3 years now. And for the sake of the story, I'll call my boyfriend Jeremy. Him and I met at another friend's birthday party and I really liked him. He wasn't interested at first, but after a few months of talking, he asked me out and we started dating. Our relationship in general is good. He's a good boyfriend and cares about me. But there is one issue, and this involves his best friend, who I will call Adrian. Adrian has been in Jeremy's life since they were in primary school. Apparently, Adrian was bullied for being an orphan, and Jeremy basically took him under his wings. My boyfriend is extremely protective over him, and at first I thought it was cute, but I don't know what to think anymore. He prioritizes Adrian over me every single time, no matter what. And the worst part is, I can't really blame him because he had already told me this would happen before we got together. I was kind of head over heels for him since I met him, so I was okay with anything, to be honest. I also thought it would change once we started dating, but it honestly never did. One of the major examples I can think of is my birthday last year. Jeremy and I were celebrating with a couple of friends, and Adrian was invited too, but he said he was busy and couldn't come because he was going to his mom's place. One of the friends there that were present revealed after the cake cutting during a conversation that Adrian was actually sick, and Jeremy left in the middle of my birthday party to go to him. Adrian later called me to apologize because apparently he had lied so Jeremy wouldn't ruin my birthday for him. Another time, Jeremy abandoned me at a friend's wedding because he had to go pick Adrian up without even being asked. Overall, it feels like he cares about his best friend way more than me. Now, with that bit of information, this is where the main drama comes into play. Last week, we were hanging out with a few friends and we were celebrating my best friend's promotion. We were having a discussion about a house fire that happened near her office recently, and the boys started joking around, talking about what they would do if it happened right now. And one of them asked Jeremy if he would choose between me and Adrian, basically saying, you can only pick one, who would you choose? And he didn't even hesitate to say that he would choose Adrian. He literally said, you choose your priority in those situations. And then he went to the bathroom and everyone started teasing me, saying that I was the classic evil girlfriend character in a book, and everyone was laughing except Adrian, who looked really guilty. But I honestly couldn't take it and I just started crying. Adrian then came to comfort me and apologize for what Jeremy said, but I snapped at him, telling him that this was all his fault. He is very much a sensitive person, so when I said that, he started tearing up and apologized profusely before running out crying. When Jeremy came back, he asked where Adrian was, and when someone told him what happened, he completely lost it. He screamed at me and called me insecure and pathetic. He called me names and told me it was a huge mistake to even give me a chance before running out of there to go find Adrian. The next morning, Adrian texted me to apologize again and let me know that Jeremy was with him. He even took Adrian to get some pastries because he was so upset. And you know what? One of my cousins once joked that my boyfriend treats him more like his girlfriend than he does to me, but I just don't think that's true. Jeremy hasn't contacted me since then and won't reply to any of my text messages. I have called him him, I've texted him. Literally, I've done everything I can, but he simply won't reply, and I'm scared that I might have lost the love of my life. My friends also let me know of what a major jerk I am for snapping at Adrian like that, when he has always stood up for me. My best friend blocked me everywhere because I apparently caused drama at her party, all over a hypothetical situation. All of my friends call me crazy too, and I found out I was kicked out of the group chat. I have no family here because I moved away from my hometown to be with Jeremy, and again, I can't say that he isolated me because he told me not to do that, but I insisted. I feel so alone, and I feel like an idiot. I have no one to talk to, and I've been crying since that day without leaving my room. I know none of this is Adrian's fault because he never really asked for whatever Jeremy does for him, but I was so frustrated. I have no idea what to do now because this situation honestly feels like it's completely blown out of control. Okay, holy crap, dude, your boyfriend sucks. Do you know how easy it is to score girlfriend points in this situation? All he had to do was say, yeah, I would pick my girlfriend over Adrian. Sorry, Adrian. And then all of this would have been fine. But instead, he answered honestly and said, I would pick Adrian. You gotta have your priorities figured out. And it's like, dude, what did you just say? Are you kidding? You just said you'd leave your girlfriend in a house fire over Adrian. Dude, do you even want a girlfriend? Like, what are you doing? You clearly don't care about her. You clearly care about Adrian way more. Like, holy crap, just like date him instead, I guess. Like, what's happening here? I understand why you got pissed off at Adrian, but honestly, I don't blame you either. Sure, this guy's like apologetic about the way Jeremy's acting, but he's also doing nothing to stop it. He's just being reactive to this and like, I don't know, not doing anything to stop it. Like, I don't know, this seems like one of those scenarios where Adrian just enjoys the attention and Jeremy can't help but giving it. Like, it seems like it's a really toxic situation for the both of them that just drags down anyone that tries to get between it. So honestly, look at this relationship in a serious way. Do you want to be with a boyfriend who's going to be married to another guy like that practically, who would choose him over you in a house fire? Like, this guy is not ready for a girlfriend at all. He seriously has his priorities mixed up, and that is not your fault. So if I was in your shoes, I would start personally like packing my bags and figuring my life out, because I would not see that involving Jeremy at all. It sounds like he already has a relationship, and that definitely doesn't include you. Am I the jerk for giving my ex-boyfriend a birthday gift of his cheating screenshots that I found, just as my way of getting revenge on him for cheating behind my back? Because man, that felt satisfying, but I don't know if I went too far. Here's how I did it. Okay, so this just went down and I'm still buzzing from it. I'm a 24-year-old female and I found out my ex was cheating on me. I had all the screenshots and text messages with the other girl saved, and honestly, I could not resist the perfect moment for payback. His birthday came up and we were at a restaurant with a few friends, and he thought I just got him a normal gift. But no, I put the screenshots in a little box, wrapped it up, and I handed it to him. He then opened it, and the look on his face was absolute terror. His jaw literally dropped, he went pale, and I swear the whole table went silent for a second. I felt this insane mix of vindication and relief. Some people might say it was cruel or over the top, but honestly, seeing him confronted with the truth he tried to hide, I will admit it kind of felt a little satisfying. But now I'm sitting here second guessing if I went just a little bit too far, because part of me thinks that he deserved every second of that moment. So seriously, am I the jerk in this situation? Because I don't know what to do. Oh man, this is beautiful. It is very messy, like don't get me wrong, but holy crap. If there's a way to get back at someone, this might be it. If I found out my girlfriend was cheating on me, dude, I would be so pissed off. I would be livid, in fact. Like, there's no way I would be okay with that. So I can imagine how the original poster must have felt when they saw their boyfriend doing that, which would probably lead to some strong emotions and some strong reactions, like screenshotting all of his text messages with the girl and giving it to him as a gift. So no, I don't think you're totally like the jerk here. I think it's one of those like eye for an eye situations, but I think the way you exposed him to that is honestly kind of deserving, because this is absolutely unacceptable. My boyfriend is now in love with someone else, and I'm at a point where I seriously don't know how to fix this and I don't know what to do. Here's what's happening. Okay, so myself and my boyfriend, who I will call Brad for the sake of the story, have been together for about 6 years. We lived together and things were going perfect until Brad's best friend of 17 years, a 30-year-old female who I will call Jenna, decided to admit to him that she likes to play mind games, and she's been manipulating him the entire time they were friends. I guess she does this to many people that she knows. She gets all kinds of things out of them, from free stuff to money all the way to trips. However, one thing she likes to do is stir the pot and act flirty. And I guess all the manipulation got to my boyfriend because he now has feelings for her, but she's engaged to someone else and he's with me. He keeps saying that he doesn't want these feelings, but doesn't know how to get rid of them or what to do. It's important to mention that he and Jenna have never actually met and only know each other through an online game. game. She sends him a text and they will fight, and I think to myself, okay, he's mad at her and over her. But the next thing I know, he's sobbing, saying she mentally messed him up bad. I do love him and I want to stand by him, but I'm getting sick of all of this. All he does is cry over her 24/7. It is to the point where he's obsessed over her, and I just don't know how to help him. Nothing I say or do works. He just gets mad and says that my ideas won't work. So please, tell me what I can do to help someone who's obsessed and in denial about the fact that she doesn't want him. And how do I handle this? I feel like it's not totally his fault. This woman is so smooth and skillful at manipulating people. It's amazing. Like, she is so good at mind games. What should I do? Okay, this guy is really weird in my opinion because there's no reason for him to be talking to her. Like, he does realize he's in a relationship with you, right? Because I can guarantee you, if I had a girlfriend who was acting like this towards another guy, I would be like, okay, I think we kind of need to break up. Because what is he talking about? Oh, I miss her so much. She really messed with my head. It's like, dude, I really don't know how to help you, but I really hope you get that figured out with somebody else because it's not going to be with me. So yeah, this does not sound like a winning formula. It sounds like your boyfriend still has very clear feelings for this chick. And I think, in my opinion, you can find someone way better than this. Am I the jerk for calling out my neighbors for always asking my mom for favors but never inviting her over to any of their parties? Because it honestly seemed like they were taking advantage of my mom in a way that really seemed inappropriate. But after I stepped in, things got really awkward and now I don't know if I crossed a line. Here's how it all happened. Okay, so this has been bugging me for a while and I finally sensed something and now I'm apparently the problem in this scenario. For reference, we have this neighbor who's in their late 40s who lives a couple houses down. On the surface, she is super friendly, always waving, stopping to chat, talking about how lucky we are to have such great neighbors. But there's a very clear pattern. She only shows up when she needs something, borrowing tools, asking my mom to watch her kid for just an hour that somehow turns into half the day, needing help setting up folding tables for a backyard barbecue, asking my mom to bake stuff for her or run random errands, or even lifting heavy stuff or some gardening advice. And my mom also just never says no. She genuinely likes helping people out and avoids conflict at all costs. She'll drop whatever she's doing just to help out. Well, here's the part that really gets to me. She throws parties all the time. Big backyard cookouts, birthday parties, holiday gatherings, and you can hear the music and people laughing from inside her house. Cars lining the street. String lights are up, the coolers are out. It's clearly not some tiny, intimate thing. But guess what? We have never been invited a single time. But the week before every party, this lady's knocking on her door asking my mom to help prep the food or set things up. My mom will spend hours over there helping her get ready. Then when the actual event happens, we're inside of our own house listening to everyone else have fun. Well, last weekend was the tipping point. She asked my mom to help for her daughter's birthday. My mom was over there chopping vegetables and frosting cupcakes while they were decorating. I then told her that she should at least ask if she's staying for the party, but she just laughed and said, oh, she doesn't need an invite. But that night we were home and I could literally see into their yard from upstairs. And the same cupcakes my mom frosted were being handed out to the guests. Well, 2 days later, she knocks again, asking if my mom can help her in her garden because, oh, she knows this stuff better than I do. But when I answered the door, I just snapped at her. I told her it feels weird that she's comfortable asking for constant help, but never includes my mom socially in anything. I said it honestly makes it look like she sees her as free labor and not as a friend. Well, this lady looked completely taken aback. She said they like to keep things small and didn't think she'd be interested. But it's like, small? What are you talking about? There were like up to 40 people there. Then she said my mom never complained and that I was overreacting. And now as a result, she's noticeably distant. My mom's upset with me because she hates tension and says helping neighbors is just being kind. And she said I embarrassed her and made things awkward. I do feel bad because she didn't ask me to step in, but I'm also tired of watching her kindness get taken advantage of. So seriously, am I the jerk here or am I out of line for like getting involved? What should I do? Bro, I would absolutely get involved as well because this is some grade A bullcrap in my opinion. This neighbor's 100% taking advantage of your mom. She's taking advantage of her kindness because obviously your mom's willing to help out. So she sees her as like, oh yeah, this is some free labor. All without the decency of being like, yeah, do you want to come to this party with us? Like that is so unfair and just completely toxic. I hate that. And you know what? I know people like the mom in this story where they genuinely just like helping people out and they simply just love being involved in stuff. So for that to be taken advantage of and the mom just like letting it slide, it's not only kind of sad, but it also would probably make me want to defend her. It would literally make me speak up and be like, no, you're not doing this anymore. You need to get away from my mom. So with all things considered, I don't think you're the jerk at all. I think you did the right thing. I think it really was necessary for you to call out your neighbor and be like, bro, you need to cut the crap. Either invite my mom to some of your stuff or just leave her alone. Because the way it's been going down is just really not fair and I don't blame you for stepping in. Am I the jerk for arguing with my dad for going on vacation, all in the middle of a family member having a health emergency? Because right now he's not taking me seriously and I'm incredibly pissed off about this. Here's what happened. Okay, so yesterday, my grandpa collapsed in our home in front of my dad and his wife. My dad asked him what was wrong, and my grandpa simply replied that he was trying to stand up. Now, since his response was brief, my dad wasn't too concerned and just continued packing for him and his wife's weekend trip to Disneyland. I live with them, so when I heard what happened, I was shocked that they weren't taking this seriously. We argued for a while if I should call out of work or if they should just go on the trip, but I ultimately decided to call out of work to take care of him, and instead they just hit the road to Disneyland after my grandpa collapsed. Well, about an hour later, I check on my grandpa to see that he was in terrible shape and even had thrown up blood. After calling another family member, we agreed that we needed to call 911. He was then taken to the hospital and we learned that he has sepsis along with a stomach bleed. My family member called my dad in disbelief that he had left me alone to take care of my grandpa in that dire of a condition, with my dad claiming he didn't think anything that serious would have happened and actually laughed at other concerns brought up by my family member. I just find it unbelievable that he didn't know anything serious was happening when my grandpa was showing very serious and obvious symptoms that something was wrong. I told him how disappointed I was in his choice to go on the trip and post about it online like nothing serious was going on at home. He told me that I should be responsible and step up more when it comes to the care of my grandparents with him, using the phrase "tag you're it," implying that it's my sole responsibility now. I already live with both of them and I do anything they'll ask of me, so I found this comment baffling. My grandparents also live pretty independently with no major health issues for either of them, so I see this as another reason this situation should have been taken seriously by my dad. He also told me that I need to understand that the trip was already paid for, so there was nothing he could do but to go. We went back and forth arguing for a bit until he changed the subject and I just gave up trying to convince him to see where I felt like he went wrong. I do feel bad for yelling and arguing with him about this, as well as taking a few personal jabs at him, but I simply couldn't believe that he made that choice, along with the stress of the moment that just made me say things I normally wouldn't have. And to clarify, I'm upset with my dad's wife as well, but we have our own separate issues, and to be honest, I was not shocked by that choice that she made. So am I the jerk for being upset with him and kind of going off on him? Because right now, I really don't know what to do. Bro, your dad sucks. If I found out that my grandparents had collapsed and was not doing well, I would drop everything and be like, okay, we got to get you to the hospital. This is not okay. And also, this is not the time to go to Disneyland. This is the time to take care of your dad and be like, holy crap, dad fell. I need to make sure he's not, dying. Which, by the way, if you had not taken him to the hospital, I'm pretty sure that would have taken him out. This is some serious stuff. So yeah, this is completely unacceptable. I think you're not in the wrong for calling him out because your dad clearly wasn't taking this seriously, and that is not okay in my book. Thanks for watching. Subscribe down below if you haven't already. And also, please subscribe to Am I the Genius? I think you're going to love what they're making over there. It's a great channel and you should definitely check it out. Everything will be linked down below in the description. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.